Chapter 561. Lin Sun looked behind Shijun, where there were still some strong practitioners of the Bloody Lion clan, all holding weapons with cold faces. No problem. Lin Sun took a deep breath and suppressed his killing intent. I don't think you dare to have any problem. Shijun sneered and waved his sleeve to take away the moonlight grass. Hey, your bow is good. Let me have a look. Suddenly, Shijun's eyes lit up and fell on the insignificant's bow behind Lin Sun. Taoism peer, you've gone too far. Lin Sun looked calm, but he was ready to take action. The insignificant's bow was also a secret treasure, which was used to kill enemies. It was the most unpredictable weapon. At the same time, this bow had two magical powers, insight vision and absolute calm. This alone made it incomparable to ordinary treasures. Under such circumstances, Lin Sun would certainly not hand over the bow. Shijun, time is running out. The Saintess is waiting for us. A strong practitioner of the Bloody Lion clan in the distance reminded Shijun not to waste any more time. Shijun frowned and gave up for the time being. He said, "Come on, come with us." "What's the matter?" Lin Sun asked, quietly putting away the broken sword and the insignificant's bow. "Don't talk nonsense. Just go." Shijun was a little impatient. His face was full of threats, and he didn't take Lin Sun seriously at all. At the same time, Lin Sun also noticed that in other directions, there were many practitioners, like him, being driven by the strong practitioners of the Bloody Lion clan, as if they were prisoners, gathering here. Lin Sun narrowed his eyes and glanced at Shijun. Finally, he held back and didn't take action immediately. Shijun felt cold for no reason, but this feeling disappeared in a moment, which almost made him think it was an illusion. "Come on, time is running out. The Saintess is calling us. The palace where the holy medicine is hidden is about to appear." A strong practitioner of the Bloody Lion clan in the distance shouted. This was a powerful middle-aged man. His eyes were like thunder, flashing with a terrible cold light. He was obviously a strong practitioner of the Tao insight realm of the older generation with terrible strength. His name was Bao Ye, a leader of the strong practitioners of the Bloody Lion clan. "Everyone, let's go together," Bao Ye said lightly. Lin Sun had no choice but to bear with it and follow the group of bloody lions on the road. Just like him, many Xiozha had been captured. Later, Lin Sun learned that the Blood Lion tribe intended to use them as cannon fodder to explore opportunities in a dangerous and unpredictable place. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, they appeared in the middle of a desert. The desert seemed to be boundless. Not a single blade of grass grew, and it was covered in dazzling golden sand. Unlike the desert in the outside world, the world here was extremely cold and bone-piercingly cold. Even if it was daytime, it was filled with a terrifying coldness that caused one's skin to shiver. When Lin Sun and the others arrived, another group of bloody lions had already arrived and were waiting there. The person in the lead was a beautiful woman with an icy cold and aloof expression. She had soft blood-red hair, a slender and graceful figure, and wore a black robe. As she stood there casually, she emanated a unique and gorgeous, icy cold and gorgeous bearing. "Greetings, Saintess." When they saw this woman, Bao Ye, Shijun, and the others all became respectful. Clearly, this woman had a high status in the Blood Lion clan. She was definitely an influential figure. "Is that the glittering jewel Saintess of the Blood Lion clan? It should be her. I heard that this woman is cold and ruthless. Her cultivation is unfathomable. If we fall into her hands, the consequences will be dire." The captured Xiozha whispered to each other. Their expressions were full of depression and worry. Lin Sun's expression was calm as he sized up everything around him without anyone noticing. "Saintess, how are your injuries?" Bao Ye stepped forward and asked in a low voice. "I'm fine." Glittering Jewel shook her head. "Damn it. The saint of the Dragon Whale clan, Yu Shaoxing, dared to take advantage of the chaos to launch a sneak attack. We must take revenge. Sure June gritted his teeth and said angrily. Not only do we have to take revenge, but we also have to take back the sapling of the golden treasure tree planted by the saint. It is branded with the mysteries of the great way of metal. It is a treasure of the world. We must not let it fall into the hands of the Dragon Whale clan, Bao Ye said with a murderous look. All right, we will have a chance to resolve this matter sooner or later. The most important thing now is to enter that palace as soon as possible. There is a sacred medicine hidden inside that has the magical effect of seizing all fortunes. We cannot lose it. The glittering jewel saintess waved her hand and led the group into the depths of the desert. The sapling of the golden treasure tree. Lin Sun was shocked. He finally knew that the small golden tree he had seen in the forest was actually a treasure tree that nurtured the mysteries of the great way of metal. This was too rare. It could be called a peerless treasure. As long as it was planted, one could comprehend the mysteries of the great way of metal at any time. Such a treasure was absolutely priceless. It was extremely rare even in the ancient orthodoxies. Obviously, the Bloody Lion clan had taken a fancy to this sapling, but it had been taken away by the saint of the Dragon Whale clan, Yu Shaoxing, during the fight. And the saintess of the Bloody Lion clan, Glittering Jewel Saintess, was also injured in that sneak attack. Soon, Lin Sun had no time to think about it. They had already been brought to the depths of the desert. The cold wind here was bone-chilling, and there were actually snowflakes drifting down between heaven and earth. They fluttered about like goose feathers, sparkling and translucent. Even with Lin Sun's cultivation, he felt a bone-piercing chill. It was too cold. The airflow was like a wave of ice that seemed capable of freezing everything. What surprised Lin Sun the most was that a lake of lava had actually appeared in this desert where the wind and snow were suffused and the cold wind was biting. The lake had a circumference of 3,000 meters, and the lava was crimson. It roared and surged, and raging waves of fire rose from it, producing an extremely high temperature. The falling snowflakes melted before they could even approach it. This was absolutely a rare spectacle. In the desert, not only was there a bone-piercing wind and snow, but there was also a lake of boiling lava. It was just like yin and yang, and they formed a cycle here, full of mysterious colors. We're here. The eyes of the Bloody Lion clan became scorching, and they stopped. The saintess Glittering Jewel Saintess took out an apricot yellow flag and waved it lightly, releasing a dazzling and colorful glow that suddenly spread out. Instantly, the scene before their eyes changed. They saw that a straight path had actually appeared on the lake of lava, leading straight to the center of the lake. An island had suddenly appeared there, and it was suffused with an extremely hazy violet-gold aura. They could faintly see a lofty and majestic mountain standing there. It seemed as if it was constructed of violet gold, and it emitted a blazing divine radiance that was faintly discernible. The most shocking thing was that there was a palace on the peak of the mountain. It was completely constructed of verdant ancient wood, and many places were mottled and charred black, as if it had been struck by lightning. It emitted an indescribably mysterious aura. The legendary divine medicine is hidden within it? Sure June gulped down a mouthful of saliva, and his scorching gaze carried yearning and greed. The others were shocked by the scene before their eyes as well. The wind and snow swept, the lake of lava surged, and a path led directly to the island at the center of the lake. On the island stood a lofty violet gold mountain that was suffused with a divine radiance, and at the peak of the mountain was actually a verdant ancient palace that emitted a divine radiance and was mysterious and transcendent. Such a miraculous scene caused everyone's eyes to stare blankly, and all of them realized that a great opportunity was surely concealed here. However, this place was extremely dangerous. Even though they hadn't approached it, everyone was able to sense that the mysterious energy of restrictions flowed in the air, and it was unknown and terrifying. As a Grandmaster of Spirit Inscriptions, Lin Sun was even more shocked and shocked on the spot when he witnessed this scene. This place was absolutely a holy land where the 5 elements generated each other and developed boundless profundities. The snowflakes were water, the lava was fire, the path was earth, the mountains were gold, and the palace was wood. It was even to the extent that the energy of wind was contained within the snowflakes, and the energy of lightning remained in the surroundings of the palace. The violet gold mountains stood above the lava, and it was another scene of true gold being refined by fire. Would suppress the mountain, and it was another scene of mutual creation. It seemed as if every single scene, no matter if it was tangible or intangible, was interlinked with each other and seemed to be formed by nature. They cooperated with each other and created a perfect scene. Such ability could be said to be extraordinary. Who exactly created such a terrifying restriction all those years ago? It simply seized all creation and contained boundless profundities. But at the same time, the killing intent contained within it caused Lin Sun's hands and feet to go cold. With his current attainments in the Tao of Spirit inscriptions, it was extremely difficult for him to see through the true might contained within it. It could be imagined that once they broke in rashly, the consequences were doomed to be disastrous. Everyone, this is a place of opportunity in the secret land of Monster Saint. There may be a great fortune hidden there. You are very lucky to explore this place with us this time. Now you can start to act. Suddenly, Baoya of the Bloody Lion clan spoke. As soon as he finished speaking, the strong practitioners of the Bloody Lion clan began to force Lin Sun and the others to go forward and explore the way ahead, while they followed behind. The faces of the captured practitioners darkened. Some of them were irritable and almost cursed out loud. How could they explore the chance together? It was obvious that they were going to be cannon fodder. Don't be afraid. We will follow you. If anything happens, of course, we will help you, Jun said with a sinister smile. As he spoke, he pointed to one of the practitioners. You go first. If you don't obey, I will kill you immediately. The practitioner trembled all over and his face changed. He begged in a low voice, Everyone, I will hand over all my treasures. I only beg you to let me go. Puff! Before he finished speaking, a sword light flashed, and the practitioner's head was directly cut off. Blood spurted out like a fountain, and the scene was frighteningly bloody. The one who acted was Saintess Lin Lang. Her blood-red hair fluttered in the wind, and her beautiful white face was full of coldness and loneliness. You have no choice. Either you lead the way or you die. She glanced at the captured practitioners as if she was staring at a group of dead people. This woman is really cold and ruthless. Lin Sun was shocked. He knew that this was a demoness. Although everyone was angry and unwilling, they had to lower their head. They were all frightened by Saintess Lin Lang's means. We cultivators should go against the current and not be afraid of all difficulties. If you retreat when you encounter danger, what achievements can you make in the future? Baoya said lightly, This is a good fortune. You must seize this opportunity. Don't let our good intentions down. More than 10 practitioners were silent. They were already cursing in their hearts. This old thing was too shameless and evil. He was obviously sending them to die, but he said it in a dignified way. It was extremely hateful. However, forced by the situation, they could only submit. Just like this, they were forced to lead the way and set foot on the mysterious path that stretched across the lava lake and led to the island at the center of the lake. Chapter 562. The lava lake was boiling, producing scorching and terrible waves of fire that beat against the void. The path leading to the island was only 4 feet wide and hundreds of feet long. It was as straight as a ruler and was not afraid of being burned by the lava. Buzz! As soon as they set foot on the path, the void was filled with horrible restrictive formations. Dense spiritual tattoos were flying in the air, shining with horrible luster. As soon as the leading practitioner set foot on the path, his body seemed to be cut by a sharp blade. He suddenly burst into pieces and turned into a rain of blood that fell to the ground. This made everyone's face change abruptly. They felt a chill in their hearts and shivered all over. As soon as they set foot on the path, someone had been killed. This place was too horrible. "Senior, this is a dangerous place. There's no way out," someone begged with a pale face. He kept bowing and begging to be let go. At this time, Jun, Bao Ye, Saintess Linlang, and other strong practitioners of the Bloody Lion clan were also shocked by the horrible restrictive formations in this area. One step could kill a person. Who could imagine it? Saintess Linlang stepped forward with the apricot yellow flag in her hand. Her cold, clear eyes were surging with bright light. She stared ahead as if she was deducing something. After a while, she pointed at the practitioner who begged for mercy and said, "You, take 5 steps to the left, step on the koan position, and then take 3 steps forward." The practitioner trembled all over and his face changed. Finally, he gritted his teeth and stepped forward to explore the way to confirm Saintess Linlong's guidance. Sure enough, he was not killed this time. Instantly, the strong practitioners of the Bloody Lion clan let out a sigh of relief. If this restrictive formation could not be broken, it would be useless no matter how many practitioners they captured to explore the way. Fortunately, Saintess Linlang could deduce some ways to survive, which cheered them up again and made them determined to get the opportunity on the island. Lin Sun had been observing silently. When he saw Saintess Linlang pointed out a way to survive, he couldn't help but be surprised. He realized that this she-devil also had a profound attainment in spiritual tattoos. Take 1 step to the right, step on the Sun position, walk between the water and the Li position, and enter the Dui position. Saintess Linlang continued to guide him. The practitioner braced himself and did as she said. Puff. However, just as the Xiozha finished doing all this, his body was suddenly covered by a terrifying flame. In an instant, he turned to ashes on the ground. He didn't even have the chance to scream before he died. It was too fast. The flames were transparent and incomparably tyrannical. They were like divine flames that could incinerate everything. That cultivator could be considered to be in existence at the heavenly insight realm, yet he didn't even have the time to react before he suffered a calamity and transformed into ashes. That scene caused everyone's scalps to go numb, and their entire bodies broke out in cold sweat. In the end, someone was unable to endure the pressure, and he suddenly turned around and fled madly towards the distance while shouting loudly, "I'm not going to give my life away. I'm not going. Even if we don't go, we'll still die." Bao Ye let out a sinister laugh. He pulled out a blood-colored spear and swung it. With a pu sound, the person's head was chopped off, and a large amount of scarlet blood sprayed out. This bloody scene caused everyone to feel as if their souls were about to leave their bodies, and they felt as if they'd fallen into an icy pit. This was killing the chicken to warn the monkey, to intimidate and oppress them, and anyone who dared to disobey would suffer such a fate. It's just a small setback, and you're already afraid to move forward. What kind of achievements will you have in the future? It's better to die as soon as possible. Bao Ye spoke coldly, and this caused those cultivators' hearts to be enraged to the extreme. This old fellow was simply too shameless and ruthless, and he was extremely hateful. "This friend, it's your turn. Go forward and wait for the Saintess's guidance." Bao Ye pointed at a cultivator. That person's face was deathly pale. He wanted to say something, but he didn't dare. In the end, his expression was stupefied as he took a step forward. If he didn't do this, he would immediately be killed. Since he was going to die anyway, he might as well give it a try. However, even with Saintess Linlong's guidance, he still fell silently in the end. He was killed by a formless flowing light, and he lay in a pool of blood, instantly evaporating into nothingness. Everyone's hair stood on end. How was this a path that led to a land of opportunity? It was clearly a land of death that devoured all life. Even Saintess Linlong's expression was somewhat solemn. A frightening cold light flickered in her eyes as she used all her strength to carry out deductions. "I'll fight you all to the death." Suddenly, someone roared loudly and brazenly attacked Sir June, who was closest to him. However, with a puff, he was cut in half at the waist by Bao Ya's long spear. He died on the spot with a grievance. "A moth flying into the fire? Ridiculous," Bao Ya said disdainfully. Everyone was extremely angry. Their faces were livid, and they clenched their fists tightly. Their hearts were extremely sullen. This Blood Lion clan powerhouse regarded them as cannon fodder and looked down on their lives. He was ruthless and cold to the extreme. Lin Sun had been silent and did not take any action. No one knew that he was also spying and deducing the restrictive power that covered this area. "Saintus, time is pressing. We can't delay any longer. Why don't we use the clan's secret treasure to open the way?" A Blood Lion clan powerhouse said worriedly. Linlang frowned and took a deep breath. "That secret treasure can't be used easily. Give me a little more time." "Secret treasure?" The captured cultivators cursed in their hearts. These Blood Lion clan powerhouses were too shameless. They had obviously brought a secret treasure with them, but they were unwilling to use it. Instead, they wanted to use their lives to explore the way. How hateful! "Brat, get ready. It's your turn to act later." Bao Ya's eyes fell on Lin Sun and he ordered in a cold voice. Lin Sun narrowed his eyes and finally agreed. But at this time, Sir June suddenly came and sneered. "Before we act, hand over the bow in your hand. I'll keep it for you." Obviously, he was still thinking about Lin Sun's insignificant bow. He was worried that if Lin Sun suffered a disaster, the bow would disappear with him, so he took the lead to attack Lin Sun. Lin Sun raised his eyes and looked at Sir June without a trace of emotion. But this kind of gaze made Sir June feel inexplicably cold and uncomfortable. His face suddenly darkened and he snapped, "What are you waiting for? Do you want me to do it myself?" Clang! A white bone knife appeared in his hand, surrounded by killing intent. Just now, Lin Sun's gaze made him very uncomfortable. He was inexplicably anxious and subconsciously wanted to kill Lin Sun immediately. "Oh, someone is coming." Suddenly, a strong Blood Lion clan in the distance shouted, which immediately made Linlang, Sir June, and Bao Ya change their faces. In the distant desert, a gorgeous escape light was whistling and rushing here at a very fast speed. Such an accident happened before they entered the place of opportunity on the island in the center of the lake. Enemies came to compete, which made the strong Blood Lion clan a little anxious. Even Sir June had no time to deal with Lin Sun. The situation was a little serious when foreign enemies came. When they fought for the seedling of the Golden Treasure Tree, it was taken away by Yu Shaoxing, the holy son of the Dragon Whale clan. They didn't want such a thing to happen again. "Forget it. Let's go in first." Linlang gritted her teeth and waved her hand. A bloody bronze bell emerged, which was old and heavy and filled with horrible Tao runes. With a buzz, the bronze bell vibrated, producing sound waves that turned into mysterious ripples of Tao and spread in all directions. "Let's go." At the same time, Linlang waved her hand and controlled the bloody bronze bell to cover everyone and rush to the island in the center of the lake. Rumble! Terrifying restrictions awakened on the path, and they produced boundless symbols and markings that transformed into lightning, divine flames, flowing lights, gales, and various other terrifying phenomena to obstruct the Blood Lion clan. However, the bell was obviously a mysterious and terrifying precious treasure. It emanated a Tao tune that was obscure, powerful, and all-powerful. It actually dealt with all the energy of the restrictions, and it seemed to be extremely miraculous. 300 m passed in the blink of an eye. In next to no time, they arrived at the island at the center of the lake. The Blood Lion clan experts beamed with joy and heaved long sighs of relief. On the other hand, the expressions of Lin Sun and the others who'd been captured were extremely unsightly. This bell was so formidable that it was entirely capable of passing through the path with ease. But it just so happened that the Blood Lion clan experts hadn't utilized it all this time, and they wanted to use their lives to explore the path. This was too despicable. Only Lin Sun seemed to be much calmer. He'd expected it since the beginning. Since the Blood Lion clan dared to set their sights on this place, then how could they not have made some preparations? However, he'd never imagined that the Bell Lin Lang withdrew would actually be so formidable, and it was even able to break through those terrifying restrictions. It was absolutely an unbelievable treasure. Damn it! Even though they'd arrived smoothly at the island at the center of the lake, Lin Lang's expression seemed to be terrifyingly icy cold, and her beautiful face was suffused with a pale color. Obviously, utilizing the bell earlier had exhausted a great deal of her strength. At this moment, her gaze shot towards the shore of the lake in the distance, and she saw a group of figures arriving there. The person in the lead was a young man in a jade robe, had slanted brows, starry eyes, and an extremely imposing appearance. Yu Shaosheng, it's you again. Lin Lang recognized him with a single glance, and he was the holy son of the Dragon Whale clan. Early on, when they were fighting for the sapling of the Metal Soul treasure tree, she'd suffered a surprise attack from him, and not only had she suffered injuries, even the sapling of the Metal Soul treasure tree had been seized. Now, this fellow had actually rushed over with the experts of his clan, and he obviously intended to take advantage of the situation. Ha ha! 5-element Saintly Isle. This is a place of great fortune within the Demon Saint's secret realm. According to legend, a divine herb is growing on it. Thank you, little sister Lin Lang, for leading the way this time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to find this place. In front of the lake, Yu Shaosheng laughed heartily. His voice was hearty, and those who didn't know him would think that he and Lin Lang were good friends. The faces of the experts of the Bloody Lion clan became gloomy. The eyes of their enemies were bloodshot. Don't pay attention to him. Our top priority is to get to the Purple Gold Sacred Mountain first, and seize the fortune in the palace. Lin Lang took a deep breath, and her clear eyes looked at the peak of the mountain, which was filled with purple gold chi. Saintess, I'll go with you, Shi Jun said quickly and rubbed his palms. No, you all stay here and wait for me. There's an even more terrible danger up there. The more people go up, the greater the danger, Saintess Lin Lang said quickly. Although Shi Jun was unwilling, he could only accept it. Suddenly, he looked at Lin Sun and asked, "What about these guys?" Obviously, Lin Lang was not in the mood to care about such a trivial matter. She said directly, "Do whatever you want, as long as you don't leave anyone alive." As she said, her figure flashed, and like a ray of rainbow, she flew up to the peak of the mountain, which was filled with purple gold chi. And Shi Jun looked at Lin Sun and the others coldly. Chapter 563. After Saintess Lin Lang said this, she flew up the mountain. But the meaning of his words made the faces of those practitioners who were caught pale and angry. Leave no one alive? She was going to kill them all. How cruel that woman was. You can't do this. The strong practitioners of the Dragon Whale clan are watching from the distant shore. If you do this, it will be spread out and cause public anger. Someone said in a trembling voice. Oh, the Dragon Whale clan? Don't worry, when we leave here, none of them will escape. Bao Ya's face was cold and gloomy. His eyes were filled with hatred. It would have been better if the Dragon Whale race hadn't been mentioned, but once it was mentioned, it made him extremely angry. A sapling of the gold spirit treasure tree that was about to fall into his hands had been stolen by those guys amidst the chaos. How could Bao Ya not hate them? Hey, there's a medicine field on the island. Although it's barren, there are still a lot of spiritual herbs filling the air. Suddenly, Shi Jun's eyes glanced over, and he instantly noticed that there was a medicinal field at the foot of the mountain nearby. The medicine field was extremely magical. It was watered by the lava in the lake. The soil showed a brilliant color like fire and was filled with wisps of mist and heat waves. The reason why he didn't notice it just now was that it was covered by the mist. But now, when he looked carefully, he found that there were a lot of spiritual herbs planted in the fiery soil. Some looked like kylan and were verdant. That was kylan grass, a kind of peerless medicine that had been extinct in the outside world for a long time. Even life-death realm kings would drool at the sight of it. Some looked like ginseng, with crystal clear and round fruit. The fruits were bright red and translucent, like small lanterns, overflowing with divine rainbows. This was Lantern King ginseng. When they saw this medicine, the eyes of the strong practitioners of the Blood Lion clan turned red, and they breathed heavily. A drop of Lantern King ginseng could bring people back to life. No matter how serious the injury was, as long as a person swallowed a drop, he would recover immediately. Even Lin Sun was shocked. Lantern King ginseng, one lamp represented 1,000 years. There were at least 18 lantern-like fruits on this ginseng. Didn't it mean that it had been rooted here for 18,000 years? There was also the Qilin grass. It was also extraordinary. When cultivating, it had an unimaginable and wondrous effect. Besides this, there were some other spirit medicines within the medicinal field. All of them were of extraordinary quality, flowed with the glow of treasures, glowed brilliantly, and emanated an enchanting fragrance. Gulp, gulp, gulp. The sounds of saliva being swallowed resounded throughout the surroundings. Regardless of whether it was the experts of the Bloodlion clan or Lin Sun's group, all of them were attracted by the spirit herbs in the field. It was only at the foot of the island at the center of the lake, and it wasn't even on the divine mountain that was suffused with purple-gold energy, but there was already such a medicinal field. This could be considered as a fortuitous encounter. You go and pick a spirit herb. As long as you can pick it back, I'll spare your life. Suddenly, Baoya spoke. He acutely noticed that even though the medicinal field was tempting, it was densely covered in the energy of restrictions, and it was extremely terrifying. That cultivator was stunned for a moment, but he immediately came to his senses. His expression was ugly. They were going to die again. What, you have a problem with that? Bao Ya's eyes were cold and filled with killing intent. The cultivator was extremely aggrieved and angry, but in the end, he had no choice but to approach carefully. He didn't step into the herb field, but instead reached out to grab one of the spirit herbs. Boom! However, a rain of light suddenly gushed out from the herb field. Not only did it dissolve the power of his palm, but it also covered his whole body. In the twinkling of an eye, he turned into a pool of pus and blood and died on the spot. Everyone gasped and completely sobered up. They realized that the restrictions covering the medicinal field were far more terrible than they had imagined. At this time, including Lin Sun, there were only 3 captured cultivators left. Seeing this scene, they couldn't help but feel sad, indignant, and desperate. You go. Remember, don't use your power. Baoya pointed at another cultivator. That cultivator suddenly gritted his teeth, let out a roar, and directly rushed towards the purple-gold mountain. You're courting death. With a puff, Baoya waved his long spear and killed that cultivator coldly and ruthlessly. Instantly, only Lin Sun and another cultivator were left on the field. There was no doubt that the next disaster would befall them. Boy, hand over the bow in your hand first. Suddenly, Shi Jun's eyes fell on Lin Sun. Even at this time, he was still thinking about this treasure. You've gone too far. In this case, why don't I send you to hell? Lin Sun looked calm. He had been forbearing and observing the restrictions and layout on the island, so he didn't take action immediately. But obviously, the battle was inevitable at this moment. What did you say? Shi Jun almost couldn't believe his ears. At this time, this young man at Sea Spirit Realm dared to say this? Was he crazy? I said, I'll send you to hell. As Lin Sun spoke, he threw out his hand and a black light burst out. It was the spirit-eating insects which had been sealed. But when they were awakened, a disaster was bound to befall. Clang! At the same time, the broken blade appeared in the air, splashing a rain of bright starlight. You're courting death. Sure June laughed out of extreme anger and waved the white bone knife to fight against it. However, something unexpected happened. With only one blow, Sure June's white bone knife was cut into pieces like a piece of paper. Puff! Immediately, Sure June's head was cut off as easily as cutting a watermelon. Blood sprayed and dyed the void red. What? Everyone screamed and couldn't believe it. How could a young man at Sea Spirit Realm be so powerful? It should be known that Sure June was also an outstanding figure of the younger generation in the Bloody Lion clan and had reached Tao Insight Realm. Who could imagine that his head would be cut off by a young man at Sea Spirit Realm in one blow? It was incredible. Hurry up, kill him. Baoya roared in anger. His beard and hair flew in the air, but his voice stopped abruptly. In front of him, a black light shot towards him. He couldn't resist it and instantly drilled into his sea of consciousness. An indescribable pain came from his soul, making Baoya's face change abruptly, and he let out a shrill scream. At the same time, in other places, some strong practitioners of the Bloody Lion clan also suffered the same attack. They didn't expect that the spirit-eating insects couldn't resist it at all. It was extremely strange. As a result, their sea of consciousness was suddenly attacked. For a time, the place was filled with screams and chaos. Many experts of the Blood Lion tribe didn't even have time to attack before they suffered losses. And Lin Sun had already taken advantage of this opportunity to kill. Bang! Using the Ice Dragon step, his figure seemed illusory as he pounced forward. The broken blade overflowed with dazzling starlight, sweeping through all directions like a river of stars. Puff, puff, puff! In an instant, 5 or 6 kings of the Bloody Lion clan were killed, turning into a rain of blood as they died on the spot. It was too frightening, and everyone's hair stood on end. Everyone, let's go together and kill this kid! A Bloody Lion clan expert roared. Rumble! Rays of light surged as Lin Sun completely erupted like a young demonic god. He revealed his unparalleled battle strength and swept through the whole field. A bunch of trash. So many of you can't even stop him? Baoya roared. The Bloody Lion clan experts swarmed over and attacked Lin Sun. However, what terrified them was that the gap between them was too big. Lin Sun seemed to only have the cultivation of Sea of Soul Realm, but with the broken blade in his hand and the Ice Dragon step, his attack power was shocking. With a slash, even a Tao Insight Realm expert was instantly cleaved in half, turning into a rain of blood in the void. Who the hell was this person? Everyone was horrified. Bang! Someone launched a sneak attack from behind. Lin Sun didn't dodge, but directly counterattacked with negative body strike. His back erupted with a frightening power like a dragon. That person's body exploded as if he had been hit by a primordial dragon. The scene was too frightening. Saintess Linlang wasn't present, so the only one who could threaten Lin Sun was Baoya. He was an old generation expert with the cultivation of Tao Insight Realm. He was ruthless, frightening, and extremely powerful. Fortunately, his soul had suffered heavy injuries and was corroded by the god-devouring insects, making it hard for him to display his full battle strength. Under such circumstances, Lin Sun naturally had no fear. He attacked with all his strength, like a dragon charging into a pack of wolves. He began a massacre and blood splashed everywhere. Beside the lava lake, the experts of the Dragon Whale clan stood there, surrounding the Saint Sun Yu Shaoxing like stars surrounding the moon. Saint Sun, that Linlang has already rushed up the Saint Mountain. If we don't act now, the fortune inside will be taken by her. An expert said in a low voice. No need. As long as we wait here, that Linlang won't be able to escape. No matter what fortune she obtains, it will fall into our hands. Yu Shaoxing chuckled, his expression full of confidence. If that's the case, why should we take the risk? It's enough to wait for her. Everyone immediately laughed. Saint Sun, look. The experts of the Blood Lion clan on the island are actually fighting with a human youngster. Suddenly, someone exclaimed. Everyone's gazes looked over, and they were instantly attracted. "Who is that human youngster?" Yu Shaoxing suddenly asked. His heart was somewhat uneasy. A sea of soul realm youngster could sweep through the whole scene, sweeping through everything before him and creating rivers of blood among the experts of the Blood Lion clan. This was too unusual. "He seems to be from the Spirit Treasure Holy Land," an expert of the Dragon Whale clan said uncertainly. "Spirit Treasure Holy Land?" Yu Xiaoxing's eyes flickered as he sank into contemplation. Bang! On the island, Lin Sun's cold eyes flashed like lightning, his black hair flying in the air. Wherever the broken blade passed, scarlet waves of blood were set off. In the end, even the Elder Tao Insight Realm expert Baoya couldn't escape and was killed by Lin Sun's moon-fetching style. However, to Lin Sun's surprise, Baoya's body turned into a colorful rain of light, and he actually broke through the air and left this place. In the following battle, a similar situation occurred. After a few experts of the Blood Lion clan were killed, they were also wrapped in colorful light and disappeared. A life-saving method like the Golden Cicada Talisman? Lin Sun's eyes flickered. Although he was unwilling, he knew that he couldn't change anything. However, in the following battle, Lin Sun's heart shook, and he released the 4 image dragon pillars. Chapter 564. Boom! The 4 symbols coiling dragon pillars stood tall and turned into an illusion, imprisoning a young man of the Blood Lion clan. What do you want?" The young man was so angry that his eyes almost popped out. Lin Sun didn't talk nonsense at all. With a bang, he knocked the young man out and began to search him. In just a moment, the young man was stripped clean by Lin Sun. In addition to some elixirs and 2 or 3 spiritual weapons, a bone jade talisman caught Lin's attention. This thing was only the size of a copper coin. It was very obscure and surged with mysterious patterns. It looked very extraordinary. "It seems that this thing is a life-saving treasure like the Golden Cicada Talisman," Lin Sun thought. He slapped the young man of the Blood Lion clan awake and began to interrogate him. The young man was not convinced at first and would rather die than submit. But this was not a problem for Lin Sun at all. Lin Sun used some torture methods he learned from the bloodthirsty camp and immediately tortured the young man to the point that he cried for his father and mother. As Lin Sun guessed, this thing was called Bone Spirit Talisman. With this treasure, even if you were killed, as long as a wisp of your soul was not destroyed, you could be rescued and have a chance to be reborn. For example, Shi Jun and Baoya, who were killed by Lin Sun before, were taken away by the power of the Bone Spirit Talisman. They left the secret realm of demons and were taken away by the soul altar set up by the Blood Lion clan. Knowing all this, Lin Sun couldn't help sighing with emotion. Both the Golden Cicada Talisman and the Bone Spirit Talisman were good life-saving treasures. Possessing such a treasure was simply equivalent to having a second life. According to the young man of the Blood Lion clan, almost all the strong people who entered the secret realm of demons this time were equipped with similar life-saving means. Of course, not every strong person had it. Only the top and the most important people in each clan could have it. After all, the Bone Spirit Talisman was extremely precious and limited in quantity. Even in those clans with great heritage, it was called a treasure, and ordinary people couldn't get it. Puff! Blood splashed. The young man of the Blood Lion clan was killed by Lin Sun, and the Bone Spirit Talisman was taken away by Lin Sun. This meant that the young man had no possibility of being reborn. When Lin Sun removed the 4 image coiling dragon pillars, he noticed to his surprise that the remaining experts of the Blood Lion clan had actually fled towards the peak of the mountain that was suffused with violet gold chi like stray dogs. Obviously, they knew they were no match for him and could only dodge for the time being. What made them the most aggrieved was that the experts of the Dragon Whale clan were still eyeing them covetously at the lakeside. Furthermore, the path to the lakeside was covered with terrifying restrictions. They could only brace themselves and rush towards the purple gold sacred mountain. Little human scum, just you wait. The day my race's holy maiden returns with the opportunity will be the day you die. Hateful, hateful! The Blood Lion clan experts cursed angrily as they fled. Clearly, they were infuriated. To chase or not to chase? Lin Sun looked at all this, thought for a while, and finally stopped. The purple gold mountain seemed to be safe, but it was the core of the island at the center of the lake. The killing intent there was definitely even more terrifying. In addition, the holy maiden Linlang was also there. Lin Sun didn't want to have a conflict with her immediately. This woman was like a devil, cruel and merciless. Moreover, she had an extremely powerful blood-red bronze bell, which made Lin Sun afraid. The ground was covered with pools of blood and corpses. This area was filled with the pungent smell of blood. The battle started and ended quickly. More than half of the experts of the Blood Lion clan were killed on the spot. The scene was tragic and shocking. In front of the lava lake, the experts of the Dragon Whale clan gasped and stared with their eyes wide open. They couldn't believe that all this was caused by a human teenager. Lin Sun ignored them and began to clean up the battlefield. Before long, there were more than 10 spiritual herbs in a cauldron in his hand. These were the trophies of the experts of the Blood Lion clan after entering the secret realm of demons, such as Wisteria Snow Ganoderma and Moonlight Grass, which were now in Lin Sun's hands. In addition, there were some miscellaneous elixirs, spiritual crystals, and weapons, which were also unceremoniously collected by Lin Sun. When I reach the Tao Insight realm, I can refine elixirs and further consolidate my cultivation, Lin Sun said to himself. He planned to break through the Tao Insight realm in the secret realm of demons and improve his combat effectiveness as soon as possible. Only in this way could he resolve some unpredictable dangers. Immediately, he looked at the medicine field not far away, and his eyes became scorching. Kylan grass, treasure lamp king ginseng, phoenix tail thunder spotted bamboo, if he could dig out all the peerless treasures in it, it would definitely be no less than getting a big chance. Lin Sun abandoned all distracting thoughts and began to deduce the restrictive power covering the medicine field. It was extremely dangerous. If he couldn't crack the restrictive power covering the medicine field, he could only stare at it helplessly without getting a chance. As for the purple gold sacred mountain and the mysterious green palace on the top of the mountain, Lin Sun didn't plan to explore them for the time being. His intuition told him that there was not only a big chance hidden there, but also an unpredictable and peerless killing intent. If Lin Lang and the others could get a chance and return safely, Lin Sun didn't mind taking advantage of the situation to rob them, outside the ultimate. Big shots from various clans were waiting and occasionally talking with each other. They were all speculating which clan would gain the most and which young descendant would rise and defeat their opponent. Many big shots from various clans even came to talk to Elder Gao Yang. The reason was very simple. The Holy Land of Spirit Treasure was an ancient orthodoxy that could be traced back to ancient times. Even the native forces in the Soul Oblivion Sea were very clear about the power of the Holy Land of Spirit Treasure. I heard that your Blood Lion clan obtained a secret map, and it records the secrets of a fortuitous place in the demonic Saint Secret Realm. It looks like your Blood Lion clan has gained a great advantage in the competition this time. A big shot sighed with emotion. There's nothing to hide. If there are no accidents in this operation, the outstanding young people of our clan will probably get a big chance. The big shot of the Bloody Lion clan looked indifferent with a smile and a trace of pride that couldn't be concealed. Hearing this, other big shots nearby had different expressions, more or less envious, because they all heard that the secret map obtained by the Bloody Lion clan was related to a place of great chance in the secret realm of demons, which was extraordinary. Is it 5 Elements Sacred Island? I heard that it's a herb garden that the ancient demon sage personally cultivated. It has true sage medicine. Elder Gao Yang's words made the other big shots tremble. They were all a little surprised. The herb garden of the ancient demon sage? True sage medicine? Suddenly, the way they looked at the big shot of the Bloody Lion clan changed again. There was even a trace of jealousy in their eyes. Such a great chance could actually be occupied by the Bloody Lion clan. Who could remain calm? The big shot of the Bloody Lion clan smiled without saying a word. In fact, he was extremely proud of himself. At that moment, an altar suddenly lit up in front of him, producing a strange spatial fluctuation. This was a soul altar. When a clansman wearing the soul bone talisman encountered an accident, their soul would be teleported back and appear on the altar. The big shot's gazes immediately became strange. One divine soul shadow after another appeared on the altar. They were all experts of the Blood Lion clan's younger generation. However, they were in a miserable state at that moment, with only a wisp of their soul left. The big shot of the Bloody Lion clan was shocked and involuntarily cried out, "What happened? Ancestor, we've been tricked." Someone cried out. It was Sure June, but he was only left with his soul. What did you say?" The complacency in the heart of the ancestor had long since disappeared. His expression suddenly changed as he grabbed Sure June's neck. "Ancestor, we've been tricked by a human youngster. F***ck. He's just a sea of soul brat, but he almost killed all our clansmen." Sure June gnashed his teeth, feeling incomparable grief and hatred. Human youngster? Sea of soul realm? The big shot of the Bloody Lion clan felt a bit dazed, almost not daring to believe his ears. He roared, "Speak clearly! Ancestor, it's true. We've just entered 5 Elements Sacred Island. We thought." Sure June's face was sullen as he quickly recounted the whole story. Hearing this, the big shots of the other clans' expressions became increasingly strange. Many of them had already started to gloat. The Bloody Lion clan's old ancestor's face was ashen. He still didn't believe it. Impossible. He's just a Sea of Soul Realm warrior. How could he resist you? What about Baoya? He has the cultivation base of Heavenly Insight Realm. How could he be defeated by a bug? Ancestor, it's true. Baoya immediately appeared, his voice bitter. His soul was even more miserable, on the verge of collapse. Only a strand of it remained. This was the result of being heavily wounded by the god-devouring bug. Seeing his appearance, the Bloody Lion clan's old ancestor couldn't help but widen his eyes. Heavenly Insight Realm. Still not the opponent of a Sea of Soul Realm youngster? We were too careless. I didn't expect him to be a heaven-defying figure of the young generation. He looks less than 20 years old, but his battle prowess is terrifying. Our people were not his opponent at all, and were killed one by him. Baoya's voice was filled with disappointment and hatred. At this moment, the soul altar fluctuated unceasingly, sending over one soul after another. They were all experts of the Bloody Lion clan. Those who had the soul altar were all elites of the young generation of the Bloody Lion clan. But now they were killed and their souls teleported back like they were going to a market. It was an incomparably miserable scene. For a moment, the atmosphere was deathly silent. The big shots of the other clans couldn't be bothered to watch the commotion anymore. They were all inwardly shocked, realizing the severity of the situation. A human youngster at the Sea of Soul Realm was so terrifying. He had slaughtered the Bloody Lion clan's young generation into rivers of blood. This was simply too shocking. Who was this youngster? The Bloody Lion clan's old ancestor's face was gloomy to the extreme. Not long ago, he was still complacent, thinking that his clansmen were destined to obtain a great fortune. Who would have thought that such a tragic outcome would occur in the blink of an eye? Chapter 565. Where's Linlang? Asked the patriarch of the Blood Lion clan. Before the battle broke out, the glittering jewel saintess had already ascended the purple-gold sacred mountain to fight for the great fortune in the palace. Baoya answered. Then he said hesitantly, "But the situation is not good either. The Dragon Whale clan has already blocked the way out of the 5 Elements Sacred Island. It's over." The patriarch of the Blood Lion clan was at a loss. Those were the elites of the younger generation, but so many of them had died. Even Linlang had been besieged. The impact was too serious. Not only would they not get any fortune, but they would also lose a batch of geniuses. The big shots of the other clans were all shocked and doubtful. Many of them looked at Elder Gao Yang. Because among all the people who entered the Demon Saint's secret realm, only the Spirit Treasure Sacred Land was the representative of the human clan. The young man who had killed so many experts of the Blood Lion clan was probably from the Spirit Treasure Sacred Land. Elder Gao Yang was also a bit stunned. He couldn't figure out who did it no matter how hard he tried. It should be known that among the disciples who entered the Demon Saint's secret realm this time, only Yun Che was at the Sea of Souls realm. The others had already reached the Paradise realm. But according to what Elder Gao Yang knew, although Yun Che's great Tao of slaughter was overbearing and terrifying, it was impossible for him to kill a Grotto Heaven realm expert like Bao Ye, unless Xiao Ran and the others helped him. But according to the news, it was clearly a young man who did it alone. Elder Gao Yang couldn't figure it out. Who could it be? Fellow cultivator, the Spirit Treasure Sacred Land is really good, the patriarch of the Blood Lion clan said coldly. He looked at Elder Gao Yang with resentment. This is a common thing. How can there be no losers in the fight for the fortune? Although Elder Gao Yang was puzzled, he didn't show any weakness. I just want to know who that young man is, the patriarch of the Blood Lion clan said in a low voice. The other big shots were also curious. The young man's achievements were too unbelievable. He had defeated all the young experts of the Blood Lion clan alone. They had to take him seriously. I have no comment. Elder Gao Yang's answer was simple and domineering. He wasn't afraid of the threat. Although the Blood Lion clan's patriarch was furious and unwilling, he knew that this was not the time to shed all pretense of cordiality with the numinous treasure Holy Land, so he could only endure it for the time being. He believed that as long as that young man was still in the Demon Saint mystic realm, he would find out who he was sooner or later. The other big figures also thought so. After all, a Sea of Souls realm youngster was so heaven-defying, simply like a young demonic god. Who would dare to look down on him? The news of what happened here quickly spread to the surroundings and was known by the important figures of the other races. For a time, the discussion about this human youth became a hot topic. Beside the lava lake, Holy Sun, the situation is slightly bad. That human youth is so formidable. If we wait for Linlang to return, then he'll probably seize the fortune Linlang obtained first. An expert of the dragon whale race furrowed his brows in worry. So what if I take it away? As long as we control the exit of 5 Elements Sacred Island, we can just kill this human youth and snatch the opportunity back. Yu Shaoxing spoke unhurriedly. His appearance was valiant, and his aura was oppressive. He had the air of an overlord of the young generation. Moreover, that woman Linlang is not that easy to kill. Although this human youth is powerful, he doesn't have much chance of winning against Linlang. Yu Shaoxing had the confidence to say these words, because he had exchanged blows with Linlang before. He deeply understood how powerful this woman was, and the fact that she had a secret treasure in her hands was even more frightening. Back when they were fighting over the Golden Spirit treasure tree, even Yu Shaoxing himself had almost suffered a loss because of that secret treasure. Let's wait. We only need to wait here and we'll be able to seize this great opportunity. Yu Shaoxing smiled lightly, full of confidence and disdain. The situation before them was indeed very subtle, forming a situation of the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Saintess Linlang, who was heading to the purple gold sacred mountain to search for fortune, was like the cicada, while Lin Sun, who was guarding the foot of the mountain, was like the mantis. Yu Shaoxing, on the other hand, saw himself as the oriole. Regardless of whether the mantis could eat the cicada or not, he, the oriole, would not let a single one go. As time passed, Lin Sun's brows gradually furrowed. He had long since seen through the restriction covering the herb garden, but he couldn't break it. The reason was simple. The restriction's power was too majestic and powerful, containing the mysterious power of the great Tao. It was sacred and terrifying, not something a sea of soul realm warrior like him could break. Even if he wanted to find a way out, he couldn't find one. Without a doubt, this restriction was laid down by a world-shaking giant, and its power was too terrifying. Was he going to give up just like that? Lin Sun was somewhat unwilling. Whether it was the Qilin grass, treasure lamp king ginseng, or even those other spiritual herbs, as long as he plucked one, it would be infinitely beneficial and priceless. How could Lin Sun be willing to give up? He raised his head to look at the purple-gold sacred mountain. Saintess Linlang and the other blood lion warriors were long gone. It was mysterious and silent, without any signs of movement. On the shore of the lava lake, a group of dragon whale warriors were eyeing them like tigers watching their prey, making Lin Sun involuntarily vigilant. He had just heard that the sapling of the golden treasure tree was taken away by Yu Shaoxing, the holy son of the dragon whale clan. Therefore, Lin Sun didn't need to think to know that these dragon whale warriors were obviously planning to wait there, waiting for him. Fortunately, it was safe to hide on the island at the center of the lake for the time being. Lin Sun stroked his chin and stared at the herb garden, lost in thought. After a while, he suddenly took out the wordless pagoda and released a ray of golden Tao light, which swept towards a Qilin grass mat in the herb garden. At the same time, he was secretly accumulating power, ready to escape and hide. One should know that there was a practitioner who tried to grab a spiritual herb through the air. In the end, before he could even get close, he was killed by a rain of light and turned into a pool of blood. What surprised Lin Sun was that when the golden Tao light swept out, it didn't disturb the restriction in the herb garden. It smoothly swept up the Qilin grass, and dug out the fiery soil at its roots. Swoosh! The Qilin grass was swept out, and suddenly there was a colorful rain of light in the void. The divine light fluttered, and the fragrance was intoxicating. There seemed to be a vague shadow of a Qilin appearing, roaring in the wind and clouds. It was a shocking scene. That's Qilin grass? Peerless precious medicine. Exclamations came from the shore of the lava lake. From here to the island at the center of the lake, the dragon whale warriors could clearly see everything on the island. All of a sudden, their eyes turned red, and their breathing became heavy, salivating. Even Yu Shaoxing, the holy son, was shocked, and his eyes were filled with extraordinary splendor. In just a moment, the scene disappeared, because the Qilin grass and the soil were suppressed in the wordless pagoda. Lin Sun was even more excited now. Who would have thought that the golden Tao light was so magical that even the restriction could be easily avoided? Swoosh! Without any hesitation, Lin Sun once again took out a ray of golden Tao light. Like fishing, it plunged into the herb garden and swept up the lamp king ginseng. Whoosh! When the lamp king ginseng was successfully brought out, the void suddenly seemed to be lit up with lanterns that were like small suns, releasing blazing and brilliant auspicious light. A rain of light fluttered in the air, overflowing with a refreshing medicinal fragrance that almost made one's soul sink. Lamp king ginseng? On the lakeside, someone cried out in shock. My God! 18 fruits. Doesn't it mean that it has 18,000 years of medicinal efficacy? Some people swallowed with difficulty, and their expressions were fanatical. That's definitely a herb garden cultivated by a saint, an ancient peerless precious medicine is planted there. Someone shouted, rubbing his palms, and itching to rush up and plunder without restraint. Previously, they didn't expect that there would be any spiritual medicine in a herb garden. But when the two spiritual medicines revealed themselves, they were instantly shocked. They realized that the herb garden on the island at the center of the lake actually hid a fortune. They breathed heavily, their eyes were red, and they couldn't calm down. If it weren't for the restriction on the road, they would have rushed over long ago. What's the hurry? In the end, all of this will fall into our hands. Yu Shaoxing frowned and berated. In fact, he was extremely excited in his heart as well. Merely a single one of such precious herbs could be said to be priceless, and it could only be chanced upon by luck. Yet now, such precious herbs had appeared together in a herb garden. This was too shocking, and it made it impossible for anyone not to be attracted by it. With a lamp king ginseng in his hands, Lin Sun was even happier in his heart, and he rolled up his sleeves as he prepared to make persistent efforts and go all out. It would be best if he could move away the soil in the herb garden as well. Since it was able to nurture so many peerless precious herbs, it was obvious that the origin of this soil was extraordinary. If he could take it away, then he could try to cultivate some spiritual medicines himself in the future. However, when Lin Sun intended to make another move, a sigh suddenly sounded out. "Young friend, please stop before going too far." Along with this voice, an old ape actually appeared in the herb garden. The ape's hair was gray, its eyes carried an ancient aura, and it held a green wooden staff in its hand. Lin Sun was shocked, and he almost couldn't believe it. Who could have imagined that there were living beings in this herb garden? "This place was left by my master for his descendant. Although my young master hasn't been born yet, he will need these spiritual medicines to consolidate his cultivation in the future," the old ape spoke with a deep voice. He didn't reveal any killing intent, and his expression was one of vicissitudes, but Lin Sun didn't dare to underestimate him. This old ape seemed inconspicuous, but it gave off an unfathomable feeling. "May I ask who your master is, senior?" Lin Sun suddenly asked. The old ape shook its head. "My master's name can't be mentioned, but I can tell you that this place was personally arranged by my master. It's not a place of opportunity left for outsiders, but a place of cultivation prepared for my master's descendants." Lin Sun was even more shocked. This sacred island of 5 elements was actually prepared by this old ape's master for his descendants? This was too shocking. "So, senior, your master is the legendary demonic saint?" Lin Sun took a deep breath and asked. "No." The old ape's answer stunned Lin Sun. The one who could arrange such a wonderful forbidden place as the sacred island of 5 elements was not the legendary ancient demonic saint? Then who was it? All of a sudden, Lin Sun realized that all of them seemed to have made a mistake. This secret realm of demonic saint didn't seem to be created by the ancient demonic saint alone. Chapter 566. While Lin Sun was still in shock, the old ape suddenly glanced at the wordless pagoda in his hand and said, "Young friend, you would have been killed if not for this pagoda. Please behave yourself." After that, the old ape's figure suddenly turned into a rain of light and disappeared. Along with him, more than a dozen peerless treasures in the herb garden disappeared. Only the horrible prohibition was still there. Lin Sun felt cold all over. What did the old ape mean? Was it because of the wordless pagoda that the old ape didn't attack him? Lin Sun fell into silence. The origin of the sacred island of 5 elements was too mysterious. It was actually a place of cultivation left by a big shot for his descendants, not a place of opportunity in the eyes of outsiders. The old ape was obviously a servant guarding this place with unfathomable strength. But what puzzled Lin Sun was that if the old ape was a strong man from the ancient times, how could it still survive until now? Who was the unborn little child that the old ape mentioned? Lin Sun looked at the purple-gold holy mountain, where there stood a verdant and ancient palace. Its surface was scorched by lightning. Finally, Lin Sun decided to explore the palace at the top of the mountain. Perhaps he could find out who the big shot who set up the sacred island of 5 elements was and what secrets were hidden here. "Hey, that young man is also climbing the mountain," someone on the shore of the lava lake said, having noticed Lin Sun's action. "Is it because he can't wait to compete with Lin Lang for the opportunity?" Many strong men of the Dragon Whale clan speculated. They didn't notice Lin Sun and the old ape meeting before, so they didn't know why Lin Sun suddenly climbed the mountain. Young master, the situation seems a little strange. Should we take action too? Someone suggested. Yu Shaoxing couldn't figure it out either. But in the end, he shook his head and refused. There are too many prohibitions here and too many dangers. Once we go in, there will be unexpected disasters. We just need to wait here. He wasn't a coward, but he had been deducing and had long judged the danger of this place. If no one had entered before him, he might have taken the risk to explore. But now, the blood lion race's holy daughter Linlang and that human youth had already taken the initiative, which was equivalent to taking the initiative. If they went now, the disadvantages would clearly outweigh the advantages, and there would be many dangers. Everyone, get ready and seal off this area. Once they come out, we'll attack immediately. Sucking in a deep breath, Yu Shaoxing gave out an order, his killing intent shocking. Purple gold energy pervaded the air, holy and mysterious. That mountain towered on the island at the center of the lake, rushing into the heavens, incomparably majestic. Along the way, there was no fluctuation of restriction, so Lin Sun quickly reached the top of the mountain and came to the verdant palace. The hall was ancient and grand, and it was completely constructed from verdant wood. Even after experiencing the passage of time, it hadn't been corroded at all, and every single inch of it was suffused with an indescribable aura of the Tao. However, this hall wasn't complete. Many places were charred black, as if it had been struck by lightning, and it was filled with an aura of destruction that didn't disperse for a long time. Lin Sun took a closer look and found that the wood of the palace was as verdant as jade, with natural veins like the traces of the Great Way, which was why it overflowed with the aura of Tao. Not to mention other things, just the wood used in this palace was a rare treasure. Whoosh! Lin Sun took out a spiritual sword and struck at a pillar on one side of the palace, intending to cut off a piece of wood to see what was going on. Crack! A green thunderbolt suddenly rushed out from the surface of the pillar, and with a snap, it crushed the spiritual sword into powder and vanished without leaving any dregs. Lin Sun took a deep breath and was secretly afraid. If he had done it himself just now, he would have been mercilessly obliterated by the green thunderbolt. What kind of wood was this? How could it contain the power of the green thunderbolt? Lin Sun increasingly felt that this place was extraordinary. He took a deep breath, circulated his cultivation, and walked into the palace cautiously, not daring to be careless in the slightest. The palace was extremely spacious and enshrouded in mist, mysterious and tranquil. The four walls were engraved with ancient patterns. Unfortunately, most of them were incomplete and blurred, mottled and collapsed. Only some scenes like the rising and falling of the sun and moon, and ancestors offering sacrifices could be vaguely seen. There was nothing worth paying attention to. Soon, Lin Sun was attracted by an altar at the end of the palace. The altar was made of a kind of purple copper and iron. It was filled with purple air, sacred and ancient. Lin Sun approached it and saw that there was a passage at the bottom of the purple copper altar, leading to the underground. Below them was the mountain that was suffused with a purplish gold aura. Below them was the island at the center of the lake, and below the island was the lava lake. Now, in front of such a mysterious ancient altar, there was a road leading to the bottom. What was hidden in it? Lin Sun became more and more curious. The layout of the sacred island of 5 elements was too extraordinary and mysterious. 5 elements were derived, wind and thunder were nurtured, and unimaginable ancient prohibitions were densely covered. All of this was by no means a decoration. It was obvious that it was guarding and nurturing something, and this thing was probably hidden in the belly of the mountain under the palace. Finally, Lin Sun gritted his teeth and decided to go in and have a look. Whoosh! However, as soon as Lin Sun approached, a black arrow burst out from the entrance of the passage, as fierce as lightning. Lin Sun used the ice dragon steps and dodged in a flash. Then, he struck with the broken blade, sweeping towards the entrance. Boom! The place was bombarded by the dazzling starlight, and then a scream sounded, Oh no, the young human is coming. This was the voice of a strong man of the Bloody Lion clan. Lin Sun's lips curled into a cold smile. He thought of Linlang, the saintess who came here earlier, and those strong men of the Bloody Lion clan who fled here after being killed by him. Whoosh! Lin Sun's figure flashed into the passage, and he saw a stone step leading straight down. The slope was steep, as if there was no end. In the twinkling of an eye, Lin Sun saw the figure of a strong man of the Bloody Lion clan madly running down. Obviously, he knew how powerful Lin Sun was, so he didn't dare to fight him head-on and went down to ask for help. Lin Sun took a deep breath. His whole body glowed as he operated his cultivation to the extreme. Then, he displayed the ice dragon steps and rushed down like a ghost. Whoosh! On the way, a long golden stick appeared and smashed towards Lin Sun's head. It was powerful and fierce, wrapped in blazing brilliance. Lin Sun seemed to have foreseen this. The broken sword swept out and cut the long stick in half. Then, with a puff, the strong man of the Bloody Lion clan hiding on the side was also killed. Lin Sun didn't look at it and continued to go down without any delay. Puff, puff, puff. Along the way, some strong men of the Bloody Lion clan who were hiding attacked from time to time, but none of them survived. They were killed by Lin Sun decisively. Not long ago, Lin Sun had witnessed how cruel and callous these guys were. They forced the captured practitioners to die as cannon fodder. Therefore, at this time, Lin Sun would not be soft-hearted. Before long, the straight stone steps disappeared, and a palace built in the belly of the mountain appeared, overflowing with brilliant holy light, as bright as day. Here he comes. That guy is coming. Damn it, we must stop him. The noise resounded in the palace. Some strong men of the Bloody Lion clan held their weapons and stood there to defend, no longer evading or retreating. However, when they saw Lin Sun's figure, their faces were still a little pale, and their eyes were gloomy and cold, burning with hatred. Today's plan was extremely smooth, but they never thought that everything would be ruined by the young man in front of them, who almost defeated them and caused heavy losses. At the same time, they regretted it. If they had known this, they would never have caught this young man as cannon fodder at will. Unfortunately, it was too late to regret now. After arriving here, Lin Sun didn't immediately take action, but looked around. There was actually a palace at the center of the mountain, and it was suffused with a pure and brilliant glow, causing it to seem extremely mysterious and gorgeous. There was no doubt that the so-called great fortune must be hidden here. In the depths of the palace, there was an ancient Taoist platform, which was obviously a place for meditation and cultivation. But at this time, there was a 4-foot-high jade on the platform. The jade was filled with the chi of the 5 elements, which was magnificent and colorful. It turned into a rain of light, and it could be vaguely seen that there seemed to be a creature sleeping inside the jade, which looked extremely mysterious. Around the Taoist platform, there were numerous chains crisscrossing, and even the Taoist platform and the mysterious jade were covered by the chains. The most shocking thing was that the chains seemed to be made of real iron, and they emitted terrifying restrictive fluctuations. At this moment, there was a slender figure sitting cross-legged in front of the Taoist platform. Her back was facing everyone, and her blood-red hair was soft and smooth like a waterfall. Obviously, it was Saintess Linlang, but at this moment, she seemed to be completely unaware of everything around her. She sat there cross-legged, and a blood-red bronze bell revolved above her head, and it was surrounded by an inexplicable aura of the Tao. And in front of her floated a scripture that seemed to be made of gold. The most shocking thing to Lin Sun was that the scripture seemed to have a mind of its own. It struggled ceaselessly and erupted with a dazzling rain of light. But along with the obscure fluctuations that spread out from the blood-red bronze bell, the struggle of the scripture was instantly suppressed, making it unable to break free. There was no doubt that Saintess Linlang was using the power of the blood-red bronze bell to suppress and collect the golden scripture that seemed to have a mind of its own. Lin Sun's eyes suddenly narrowed. This scripture was absolutely a supreme opportunity, and it was very likely that it contained the inheritance of the master of the sacred island of 5 elements. Clang! With a clear sound of the broken sword, Lin soon decided to take action. "Don't come over!" those strong practitioners of the Bloody Lion clan shouted. They were obviously protecting Saintess Linlang. "Get lost!" Lin soon didn't say any more nonsense. His figure was like an ice dragon, and he dashed over in a domineering and disdainful manner. A fierce battle broke out in this palace. Lin soon used all his strength, and like a demon, he carried out an absolute crushing attack. For a moment, the strong practitioners of the Bloody Lion clan were almost killed on the spot, which made Lin Sun's combat power even more terrifying. Seeing that the strong practitioners of the Bloody Lion clan were about to be killed by Lin Sun, an extremely cold voice suddenly sounded. "Taoism Peer, are you really going to kill all of us and make life difficult for our Bloody Lion clan?" Chapter 567. His voice was full of killing intent and threat. Lin Sun didn't know when the Saintess turned around and glanced at Lin Sun with a pair of cold eyes. However, she was at the critical moment of suppressing the golden scripture and had no time to spare to attack him. She could only threaten him with words. "I've already killed him. Why should I be afraid of your threats?" Lin Sun looked calm. As he spoke, he continued to kill and set off a bloody scene. "You're courting death." Linlang was so angry that her face turned livid. She gritted her teeth so hard that they almost broke. However, she couldn't spare any energy to deal with Lin Sun at the moment. She could only bear it for the time being. But in her heart, she had already sentenced Lin Sun to death. Without the slightest hesitation, she concentrated on suppressing the golden scripture and circulated her entire strength. She even didn't hesitate to execute numerous secret techniques and spit out a mouthful of blood essence, causing the might of the blood-red bell to become even more terrifying, and it suppressed the golden scripture to the point it was powerless to struggle and could only wail. Clatter! In next to no time, the golden scripture fell silent, and then its pages loosened up and started flipping through the pages. Bright golden light of the Tao flowed within it, and it was filled with obscure and profound ancient markings of the Tao that seemed lifelike like earthworms. Saintess Linlang was overjoyed. She realized that the scripture was about to be subdued and become her possession. Swish! However, at this critical moment, a ray of Taoist light swept over and firmly wrapped around the scripture. Dark golden light. Lin Sun had made a brazen move after killing the experts of the Blood Lion tribe. He wanted to seize the opportunity to seize the scripture. Originally, he wanted to kill Linlang first. However, he knew that this woman was extremely terrible. If he couldn't kill her with one blow, it was very likely that an accident would happen and he might even lose the scripture. "You're courting death." Linlang was so angry that her eyes were about to burst into flames. The blood-red bronze bell above her head emitted a strong sound wave that spread out to imprison the scripture and prevent it from being taken away. But what surprised her was that the dark golden Tao light couldn't be shattered. What treasure was this? Linlong's eyes instantly locked on the wordless pagoda in Lin Sun's hand. She realized that it was also an incredible secret treasure, and its power was no weaker than her blood-red bronze bell. Boom! She waved her sleeve, and a rain of blood-red swords poured out like a waterfall. The swords were surging with terrible power. At the same time, she controlled the blood-colored bell and used all of her strength to seize the golden scripture. "Humph!" Lin Sun sneered. He held the broken sword in his hand, and the dazzling starlight saber-chi spread out, dissolving the bloody sword rain. At the same time, he also activated the dark golden Tao light, wanting to take the golden scripture, not giving an inch. It seemed easy, but in fact, Lin Sun's chi and blood were tumbling all over his body. He was so uncomfortable that he almost coughed up blood. Saintess Linlong's attack was so terrible that it contained the power of the Great Way. Although he had resolved it, he was still shocked and almost injured. This made Lin Sun even more afraid in his heart. Although this female devil was only at the initial stage of Tao Insight Realm, her combat strength was extremely strong. Perhaps she was on par with figures like Xiao Ran, Su Xingfeng, and Zhao Jingxian. Saintess Linlong's heart was even more shaken. A mere Sea of Soul Realm youngster had easily dissolved her killing move. She almost couldn't believe it. Who was this guy? When did such a freak appear among the human race? Boom! Saintess Linlong's body was overflowing with bloody light, surging like a vast ocean. Her power became more and more terrible. She realized that the problem was serious, so she had to kill Lin Sun as soon as possible. A bloody rain of light that was filled with the miraculous power of the great Tao descended like a bloody cloud. The void was chaotic. Lin Sun tried his best to resist and used the moon-reaching style, but he was still shaken to the point that his qi and blood were surging. His face was pale, and he almost coughed up blood. But in the end, he resisted and didn't suffer a disaster. At the same time, Lin Sun gritted his teeth and waved his hand to release a swarm of spirit-eating bugs, which turned into a black light and rushed toward Saintess Linlang. But to Lin Sun's surprise, the spirit-eating bugs, which had always been successful, were blocked by the sound wave of the bloody bronze bell before they could get close. They couldn't go any further. This was the first time that the spirit-eating bugs had been blocked. Obviously, the bloody bronze bell was too magical and powerful. The power it released was not something that the spirit-eating bugs could resolve at all. Clatter! Saintess Linlang attacked again. The bloody light surged like a blood river from hell, trying to drown all the creatures in the world. Lin Sun didn't dare to neglect and tried his best to resist. Rumble, for a moment, the palace was full of bloody light and saber qi. The sky was dark and the moon was dim, which was a horrible scene. While fighting fiercely, both Linlang and Lin Sun didn't give up fighting for the golden scripture. One controlled the bloody bronze bell, and the other controlled the wordless pagoda. No one could get the golden scripture smoothly, and they were in a stalemate. My friend, why don't you retreat for the time being? I promise I will let you go this time and won't embarrass you. What do you think? Linlang said anxiously. Lin Sun's strength was beyond her expectation. If this continued, there would only be more variables. Why don't you give up and I will let you leave alive? What do you think? Lin Sun was unmoved. While talking, the two fought fiercely for dozens of rounds. Although Lin Sun could barely resist, his face was pale and he almost coughed up blood several times. This demoness was too powerful. In terms of foundation and combat power, she was obviously better than Lin Sun. If Lin Sun also stepped into the Tao Insight Realm, he might be able to suppress her. But he couldn't do it now. It was difficult for him to fight back, let alone suppress her. He could only barely protect himself. This made Lin Sun a little anxious. If this continued, he would only become more and more passive, and it was very likely that he would lose this fight. I have to use some special means. Lin Sun secretly gritted his teeth. Almost at the same time, Linlang also made a decision in her heart to kill Lin Sun at all costs. Die! Old Toad, it's up to you. The two of them attacked at the same time. Linlang raised her hand and shot out a strange bloody thunder bead, which was flowing with dense electric arcs that made people's scalps numb. At the same time, the handsome and evil Jean D in a green robe appeared. He seemed to have been depressed for too long. As soon as he appeared, he couldn't help laughing wildly. Boy, you made a wise decision this time. With me, who in the world can compete with me? Ouch! Damn you! How could it be the heavenly blood thunder bead? When he caught a glimpse of the bloody electric arcs, Jean D immediately screamed. His hair stood on end, and he covered his head and scurried away like a rat. Who is it? Who used such a taboo-killing weapon? Ioyo, Motherf ***, this prince is going to die from anger, this prince is going to die from anger. Jean D was flustered and exasperated. His skin was scorched black by the bloody lightning, and he was in a mess like burnt charcoal. Where was his handsome and unruly demeanor? Lin Sun was also speechless. He had already discussed with Old Toad that if he could get the golden scripture, Old Toad would let him study it together. Who would have thought that as soon as this guy appeared, he would be struck by the lightning and scurried away like a rat? He couldn't do anything right. Saintess Linlang also widened her eyes in shock. That was the Heavenly Blood Thunder Bead, her trump card. An ordinary Tao Insight Realm practitioner would have been struck to death. Who would have thought that the guy in the green robe would be able to withstand it? Although he screamed again and again, he didn't die. This was too horrifying. Who was this guy? Why couldn't the Heavenly Blood Thunder kill him? His vitality was too heaven-defying, wasn't it? Bitch! How dare you bully me like this? Just you wait, I'll strip you naked, hang you up, and beat you so hard that you'll kneel down and call me uncle. Jean D screamed and cursed angrily, as if he was in a rage. However, his curses were directly ignored. At this time, Lin Sun and Lin Lang were fighting fiercely again. Both of them knew that neither the Heavenly Blood Thunder Bead nor Old Toad could play a role. They were the ones who would decide the outcome of the battle. Kill. Their fierce battle became more and more fierce. At the same time, they also had to fight for the golden scripture. The situation was extremely dangerous. However, neither of them expected that during the fierce battle, a chain suddenly gushed out of the quaint Taoist platform, shining with magnificent Taoist light. It suddenly joined the battle, bound the golden scripture, and was about to bring it into the Taoist platform. This change was so sudden that they were caught off guard and almost lost the scripture. Damn it! With a tacit understanding, the two stopped fighting at the same time and began to fight for the golden scripture with all their strength. Both of them realized that something was wrong. It was as if the creature sleeping in the jade Taoist platform had awakened a trace of consciousness and couldn't tolerate them taking the golden scripture away. Moreover, the colorful chain was extremely terrible and full of restrictive power, so they didn't dare to be distracted to fight. Crack! Crack! In the void, the golden scripture was imprisoned there. The sound waves of the blood-colored divine bell, the dark golden light of the wordless pagoda, and the magnificent chain on the Tao platform bound the golden scripture together. They pulled at it from 3 different directions, and it was actually in a stalemate. Damn it! If it weren't for you, this scripture would have fallen into my hands. Lin Lang gritted her teeth, and her beautiful face was livid with anger. If your bloody lion clan hadn't gone too far, how could I have been involved in this? What's more, this scripture is ownerless. It belongs to whoever can grab it. It's useless for you to hate me. Lin Sun looked calm and didn't give in. Don't worry. When I get this treasure, I'll capture him personally and torture him until he begs for death. Lin Lang gritted her teeth with infinite hatred. Lin Sun was about to say something when there was a sudden change in the field. The magnificent chain suddenly exerted force, and the golden scripture was torn apart with a series of cracking sounds. It turned into 3 parts and was swept away by the 3 parties. Clatter! The incomplete golden scripture was suppressed into the wordless pagoda by the black golden Taoist light, which made Lin Sun slightly stunned. Then his face changed and he shouted, "Old Toad, run! This she-devil is going crazy!" As he spoke, he waved his sleeve and wrapped up Jean Dui, who was screaming and running, and stuffed him into the wordless pagoda. Then he rushed out of the palace. Want to leave? Impossible. You must pay for what you've done today. Lin Lang's face was livid and cold. She hated Lin Sun to the extreme. How could she let Lin Sun go? Chapter 568. Lin Lang, the saintess, was about to go mad with anger. She had always been the top talent of the Blood Lion tribe since she started her cultivation. Wherever she went, she was respected. Even the big shots in the tribe had to be polite to her. Who would have thought that she would be cheated by a human teenager today? Not only were the experts of the Blood Lion tribe killed, but even 1/3 of the mysterious golden scripture was taken away. How could she not hate him? The most humiliating thing was that the teenager was only in the sea spirit realm. Boom! A horrible wave spread from Linlang. Her beautiful face was full of cold, killing intent. Her beautiful eyes were full of killing intent, and her blood-red hair was flying in the air. She looked like a female devil. However, when she was about to kill Lin Sun with all her strength, a sudden change occurred. On the quaint Taoist platform in the depths of the palace, the crisscrossing magnificent chains all shook. An angry roar came from a piece of jade covered by the chains. "How dare you rob me of the inherited scripture? Both of you deserve to die." The voice was as tender as a baby's. It was extremely sharp and full of endless resentment. As soon as it spread, the whole palace shook violently. Thousands of magnificent chains roared and suddenly rose into the air, rushing towards Linlang. At this moment, Linlang and Lin Sun both gasped as they sensed an unprecedented sense of danger. "Go!" Lin Sun didn't dare to hesitate. He ran the ice dragon steps to the extreme and disappeared from the palace in a flash. Damn it! Linlang was so angry that her nose became crooked. She had planned to kill Lin Sun. Who would have thought that such a thing would happen? Boom! A chain, like a divine chain, full of horrible Taoist light, slapped at Linlang. Linlang used the blood-red bronze bell to resist. Even so, her pretty face turned pale and she almost coughed up blood. She immediately sobered up from her anger and fled with all her strength without hesitation. The change in the palace was too horrible. It was as if a horrible creature had awakened from its sleep. If she stayed any longer, she might suffer an unpredictable disaster. Outside the verdant palace, as soon as Lin Sun escaped, he heard an earth-shattering roar. The hall was shaking, and the purple-gold holy mountain was shaking violently. Not good. Lin Sun's face changed again. He didn't dare to stay any longer and rushed down the mountain like a flash of lightning. Behind him, Saintess Linlang also rushed out. Her blood-red hair fluttered in the wind, and her pretty face was ice-cold. However, she was clearly aware of the danger. She couldn't care less about attacking Lin Sun anymore. Instead, she began to flee with all her might. Rumble, amidst the terrifying shaking, the verdant ancient palace at the peak of the mountain actually began to sink, producing a terrifying green lightning luster that caused the sky and earth to change color. In the end, the purple-gold sacred mountain began to emit surging holy light, and the entire mountain began to sink. Then, the lava lake began to boil, creating terrifying waves of fire. The island at the center of the lake also began to crack, turning into pieces of broken rocks that began to sink. This was too terrifying. The entire 5 elements sacred island underwent a shocking change. It sank into the lava lake and produced terrifying destructive fluctuations of restrictions. Damn it! What's going on? Could it be that Lin Lang has triggered some taboo energy that has caused this place to undergo a shocking change and is about to be destroyed? At the lakeside, all the experts of the Dragon Whale clan were terrified to the point of retreating far away. Their expressions changed indeterminately as they were deeply afraid of being affected by the terrifying energy of destruction. There was utterly no need to doubt that, not to mention them, even a king was bound to be unable to escape death if he was trapped within it. The energy of destruction was too terrifying and beyond imagination. It caused this expanse of the heavens and the earth to fall into great chaos. It was like the end of the world had arrived and the Grand Tao was collapsing. Yu Shaoxing was surprised and bewildered as well. But right after that, a wisp of dark blue and cold light suddenly shot out explosively from his eyes as he shouted loudly. "Prepare for battle!" Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, a figure charged out from the side of the 5 elements sacred island like a bolt of lightning with an unbelievable speed. Even then, Yu Shaoxing was still able to recognize it. Shockingly, it was that human youth. The saintess of the Blood Lion clan is behind us. It's she who seized the great fortune of this place and caused this calamity. Lin Sun shouted loudly before he even arrived, and it caused all the experts of the Dragon Whale clan to go into an uproar. They'd guessed since the beginning that all this shocking change was probably related to Lin Lang. Now, Lin Sun's words had undoubtedly verified their guesses. On the other hand, Lin Lang, who'd similarly fled from the Five Elements' sacred island, was just about to catch her breath, yet when she heard Lin Sun's words, she instantly seethed with rage and felt extremely unwell. Framing, and causing trouble to others? This human youth is simply too despicable and shameless. Friend, no matter who seizes the fortune, you should stay here for now. Yu Shaoxing spoke coldly. As he spoke, he gestured to the nearby clansmen and ordered them to move out together to stop Lin Sun. At the same time, he attacked brazenly to kill Lin Lang. A snow-white trident forged from dragon bone soared into the sky and gave rise to a myriad of mysterious markings and symbols as it swept out in a wide arc. This was a secret treasure called the Dragonbone Halberd. It was the ancestral weapon of the Dragon Whale clan, and its might wasn't inferior to the blood-red bell in Lin Lang's possession. Obviously, Yu Shaoxing realized that the situation was tense, and he'd utilized his full strength as soon as he attacked. On the other side, Lin Sun was surrounded by a group of experts of the Dragon Whale clan. These fellows had been accumulating strength since a long time ago, so how could they allow Lin Sun to seize the opportunity to slip away? Instantly, a fierce battle erupted in this expanse of the heavens and the earth. Lin Lang controlled the blood-red bell as she fought Yu Shaoxing, and they fought to the point the heavens and the earth dimmed in color. It was an extremely intense battle, and terrifying chaotic flows of energy surged, causing the scene to be astounding. One of them was the Bloodlion clan's Saintus, the other was the Dragon Whale clan's Holy Son, and they both possessed secret treasures. Now that they were fighting each other, it was simply an unprecedented battle that belonged to the younger generation, and it caused one's heart to palpitate. On the other side, Lin Sun felt even more pressure. There was no lack of experts of the older generation at the Heavenly Insight realm amongst the experts of the Dragon Whale clan. Now that all of them were attacking him from all sides like a swarm of bees, it was obvious how terrifying it was. Lin Sun could only rely on the profundities of the ice WYRM steps to barely deal with them, yet he was unable to kill his way out of the tight encirclement in a short period of time. Stinking bitch, looks like these fellows don't intend to let us off. Why don't we join forces for now and kill our way out first before settling the enmity between us? Suddenly, Lin Sun let out a long howl. His entire body glowed as his broken blade swept out horizontally, and it slashed a snake spear into pieces. Even though he was unable to break out of the encirclement, his might was domineering to the extreme, and it was impossible to suppress. All right, come over here. Let's deal with this Yu Shaoxing together. Saintess Lin Lang agreed very readily. Even though she hated Lin Sun to the point of gnashing her teeth, she knew that only by choosing to cooperate with Lin Sun at this moment would they have the hope of killing their way out. Instantly, the expressions of Yu Shaoxing and the others changed. If these two fellows were to join forces, then they might really be able to kill their way out of the tight encirclement. All of you stop that kid with all your might. Don't let them converge by any means. Yu Shaoxing shouted in a deep voice. He was slightly anxious in his heart. Kill! How could the experts of the Dragon Whale clan dare to be negligent? All of them surged with murderous intent as they exerted all their abilities to obstruct and besiege Lin Sun. Come over here, I can't leave. If you don't come over, then none of us will be able to escape. Lin Sun shouted loudly. Damn it! Saintess Lin Lang was so angry that the corners of her lips trembled, and she cursed in her heart. But she had no choice but to fight Yu Shaoxing while drawing closer to Lin Sun. How could Yu Shaoxing allow the two of them to converge? He was instantly enraged, and he circulated his full strength. The Dragonbone Great Halberd shone brilliantly like a scorching sun, and it possessed boundless might, causing Saintess Lin Lang to be in an extremely passive position. Puff! In the end, she was struck by the Great Halberd, and she coughed up blood as she sustained serious injuries. But she took advantage of this opportunity to draw closer to Lin Sun's battlefield. Kill! She let out a long howl as her blood-red hair danced in the wind. She raised her hand to summon the Dutian blood thunder bead, and it released tens of thousands of thunderbolts that rumbled as they struck down at the experts of the Dragon Whale clan. Scram! Lin Sun also attacked. He let out a loud shout, and his back arched abruptly as he executed the negative body strike. A series of muffled bangs rang out. Some of the experts of the Dragon Whale clan behind Lin Sun had never imagined that Lin Sun would possess such a terrifying and peculiar secret technique. They were instantly sent flying, and they coughed up blood continuously. The originally tight encirclement was instantly torn open by a crack. Whoosh! Whoosh! How could Lin Sun and Saintess Linlang miss such an opportunity? They executed their movement techniques at the same time and escaped through this crack. A bunch of trash! Quickly chase after them! Yu Shaoxing was so angry that his face turned ashen, and his hair stood on end. He raised his great halberd and chased after them. But the experts of the Dragon Whale clan were all dumbfounded, because after they escaped from the encirclement, Lin Sun and Saintess Linlang seemed to have a tacit understanding, and they immediately separated, fleeing in two different directions. Which one should they chase? Trash! What are you still standing there for? You guys go after that kid, leave this woman to me. Yu Shaoxing roared, and his voice surged like thunder as he madly chased after Saintess Linlang. He also felt very depressed. Originally, the situation of the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, had given him an absolute advantage. Who would have thought that a shocking change would occur on the sacred island of 5 elements, and he was caught unprepared. When he was about to intercept Lin Sun and Saintess Linlang, he did not expect that the mantis and cicada, who were like mortal enemies, would actually join forces in order to escape. All of a sudden, the entire situation was a mess. One could imagine how sullen Yu Shaoxing felt. On the other side, Lin Sun used the ice drake steps with all his strength, and his figure flickered like a dream as he fled. Behind him, a large group of experts of the Dragon Whale clan began to chase after him. Lin Sun was also a little depressed. He had just resolved the crisis brought by the experts of the Blood Lion clan, and now he was being targeted by the Dragon Whale clan. This made Lin Sun very angry. Did they really think that Lin Sun was a soft persimmon that could be kneaded at will? Since you don't know what's good for you, I'll play a big game for you. Lin Sun changed from fleeing to secretly gnashing his teeth. Damn it! Really damn it! At the same time, Saintess Linlang, who was being chased by Yu Shaoxing, was about to go mad with anger. She gritted her teeth so hard that they almost broke. The price that the Blood Lion clan had paid today was too tragic. They were almost completely annihilated. What made Saintess Linlang the most furious was that even now, Yu Shaoxing was still chasing after her like a ghost. This was simply too much. The sapling of the golden treasure tree was also stolen by this guy in a sneak attack. Chapter 569. The sacred island of 5 elements had disappeared. The entire area had collapsed. The verdant palace, the sacred mountain of purple gold, and the island at the center of the lake had all sunk into the lava lake. In the end, even the lava lake had sunk and disappeared. However, in the depths of the ground, there was an ancient platform floating in the air. Dense chains crisscrossed on it, and the aura of the Great Way lingered around it. A jade stone filled with chaotic aura stood on the platform. A living being was floating in it. Beside him, there was an incomplete golden scripture and an old medicine that looked like a horned dragon. I'll remember you. You can't escape. How dare you steal the fortune that belongs to me? When I'm born, you'll all die. A sharp and angry voice came from the jade stone. Then, the voice disappeared. Everything fell into silence. The area was shrouded in darkness. Vaguely, an old ape's figure appeared. It stood in front of the platform and stared at the living being that had fallen into a deep sleep in the jade stone. Fortunately, the sacred medicine that Master left behind is still here. After a long time, the old ape sighed. He thought of the handsome young man and the octagonal 9-story pagoda in his hand. Is it that pagoda? It still exists, the old ape murmured in his heart. Then, his figure turned into a rain of light and disappeared in the darkness. In the vast desert, an illusory figure fled like lightning. It was extremely fast and disappeared in a flash. Not long after, a group of murderous figures appeared. They covered the sky and the earth and chased after the figure. They were naturally Lin Sun and the Dragon Whale clan powerhouses who were chasing after him. Boom! Not long after, Lin Sun suddenly stopped and took out the 4 symbols coiling dragon pillars. He instantly trapped a Dragon Whale clan powerhouse who was chasing after him in an illusion. Not long after, the Dragon Whale clan powerhouse with an illusion was killed. Lin Sun sat on the ground and gasped for breath. His face was pale. He had used up a lot of energy. There was a hint of exhaustion between his eyebrows. But Lin Sun didn't dare to relax. He took out a bottle of medicinal pills and swallowed them all. Then, he began to refine and recover. This pursuit lasted for a day and a night. On the way, Lin Sun was like a premeditated hunter. Every once in a while, he would take out the 4 symbols coiling dragon pillars to kill the lone dragon whale. The 4 symbols coiling dragon pillars were quite wondrous. They could create illusions that isolated the outside world. For the time it took to make a cup of tea, even a King Realm expert wouldn't be able to break through. With this treasure, Lin Sun killed 7 or 8 strong practitioners of the Dragon Whale clan along the way, including an experienced Tao Insight Realm cultivator. However, Lin Sun didn't feel good either. The continuous battle and escape had consumed a lot of his energy, and he had suffered a lot of injuries. He had no time to recover at all. Moreover, although the 4 symbols coiling dragon pillars were miraculous, their power would gradually weaken after the time it took to brew a cup of tea, and they would be destroyed by the enemy. The worst thing was that the enemies would take advantage of this opportunity to lay a trap and besiege him. When Lin walked out of the 4 pillars, he would suffer a comprehensive attack. Almost all the injuries Lin Sun suffered along the way were caused by this situation. Boom, boom, boom. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Lin Sun, who was meditating and recovering, was awakened. He instantly knew that the enemies were besieging the 4 symbols coiling dragon pillars again. They've gone too far. Lin Sun also gnashed his teeth with hatred. If he had the peak strength, he wouldn't be afraid at all. He could sweep and crush all the enemies. But now, he had accumulated injuries and consumed too much physical strength. It was impossible for him to fight recklessly. Otherwise, he would be in danger of dying. When I get out of trouble this time, I must find a place to break through to the next realm. As long as I reach the Tao Insight realm, why should I be afraid of Linlang and Yu Shaosheng? Lin Sun got up, took a deep breath, and took out the broken sword. His face had become as calm as ice and snow. As long as he was ready to fight, he wouldn't be affected by any distracting thoughts. This was the fighting consciousness that he had honed in the bloodthirsty camp. When he left the illusions, Lin Sun turned over his palm, and a bright red fruit like a lantern appeared. It was as brilliant as the scorching sun, gushing out essence and overflowing with intoxicating fragrance. A fruit of Lantern King ginseng. Without hesitation, Lin Sun opened his mouth and swallowed it. When he was chased before, he didn't want to waste such a miraculous medicine. Even if it was just a fruit, its value in Lin Sun's heart was more important than those opponents. But now, he was in an extremely bad condition. Once he encountered any danger on the way, it would definitely be fatal. Therefore, at this moment, he didn't care about wasting it. He decided to swallow the precious medicine and finish the battle at one stroke. Boom! As soon as the glittering fruit entered his mouth, Lin Sun felt like there was a new sun in his body, releasing terrifying medicinal power and replenishing his strength at an incredible speed. It was too huge and pure. The medicinal power was not violent, but it was strong and surging, which made Lin Sun feel so comfortable that he almost moaned. Moreover, all the injuries he suffered were healed in an instant, which was like a miracle. It's said that a drop of Lantern King ginseng juice can instantly restore a dying person to the peak state. Now it seems that it deserves its reputation. Taking a deep breath, Lin Sun felt the strength in his body boiling like a volcano, and he felt an unprecedented strength. Whoosh! Without hesitation, Lin Sun withdrew the four-image dragon pillars and rushed out with the broken sword in his hand. He's out. Kill him. This time, we can't let him escape again. Little bastard, go to hell. As soon as he appeared, there was a burst of cursing from all directions. A group of strong practitioners of the Dragon Whale clan surrounded Lin Sun, with killing intent lingering around them like ferocious devils. And when they saw Lin Sun, they attacked at once. Boom! All kinds of weapons glowed and released dazzling rays of light, pouring down like a tide. The power seemed to break and destroy this area, which made people's scalp numb. There was no need to doubt that if it was any other cultivator here, they would definitely be killed on the spot before they could even react when they were suddenly attacked by such an overwhelming attack. However, Lin Sun had already prepared for it. Naturally, he wouldn't sit still and wait for death. Open! He shouted, and the broken sword swept up the dazzling starlight. With a move of embracing the moon, a holy moon rose in the field in an instant, shining brightly and illuminating the mountains and rivers. Rumble! At this moment, the attacks that covered the heavens and the earth were broken through like paper by the bright moon, and they transformed into a rain of light that scattered in all directions. Some experts of the Dragon Whale clan weren't able to dodge in time, and they were even struck by the aftershock. They let out shrill cries, coughed up large mouthfuls of blood, and almost lost their lives. With a single strike, he'd destroyed a myriad of techniques. Shocked and furious cries resounded in the surroundings. Obviously, they didn't dare believe that the young man they'd clearly pursued to the point of being heavily injured and on the verge of death would erupt with such a terrifying combat strength at this moment. At this moment, Lin Sun's black hair was casually tied behind his head. His face was handsome and calm, his black eyes were like bolts of lightning, and his entire body emanated an aura of supremacy and transcendence. The broken sword in his hand let out a clear howl that was like the roar of a dragon and the roar of a tiger. It surged through the surroundings, and it caused his imposing aura to be even more boundless. He was like a young genius with an extraordinary bearing. Why has his imposing aura become different? He's countless times stronger than before. Someone exclaimed with shock while his expression turned grim. The other experts noticed it as well, and all of them revealed gloomy expressions. Who cares? Let's attack together and kill him! Someone shouted loudly. Pooh! However, as soon as he finished speaking, Lin Sun swiftly appeared before him like a phantom, and then he raised his sword and chopped off a bloody head. I originally had no enmity with all of you, yet all of you pursued me all the way here, and you've simply gone too far. I can only send all of you on your way today. Lin Sun's voice was calm, yet it revealed peerless killing intent, and it seemed as if it covered the heavens and the earth as it enveloped the surroundings, causing even space to wail. All the experts of the Dragon Whale clan gasped. He really has become stronger. Kill! They attacked in unison, and they didn't dare slack off in the slightest. This pursuit caused them to be exhausted, and if it wasn't for them knowing that Lin Sun was heavily injured and on the verge of death, they would have almost given up. But never had they imagined that Lin Sun would recover to his previous state in such a short period of time, and he'd even become stronger than before. This caused them to realize that the situation was bad. Bang! This expanse of the heavens and the earth was in chaos, and world-shaking explosions rose and fell. Surging rays of light raged and swept through the surroundings, and an area of over 5 kilometers in the surroundings was completely transformed into a scene of desolation. Lin Sun's figure flickered both horizontally and vertically as he moved about in the sky like an ethereal rainbow. The broken blade in his hand flowed brilliantly with starlight, and it carried a heaven-defying ferocious aura that sprayed out in all directions. One after another, the experts of the Dragon Whale clan were annihilated, and shrill cries, curses, and screams of terror rose and fell. The scene was too bloody, and it dyed this expanse of the desert red, and it was a horrifying sight. What was overbearing? At this moment, Lin Sun vividly displayed this word. He swung the broken blade while his figure moved like a bolt of lightning, and he moved about the battlefield like a peerless all that swept through all obstacles and was unparalleled. He'd been pursued all the way here earlier, and a great deal of rage and hatred had accumulated in his heart. Now that his strength had recovered, he naturally wouldn't show mercy. Flee! It wasn't long before the remaining experts of the Dragon Whale clan collapsed. They couldn't endure the pressure of approaching death, and they let out terrified cries before starting to flee for their lives. How could Lin Sun let them off? He executed the Ice Drake steps and chased after them before continuing his slaughter. Pooh! As soon as a practitioner set up the escape light, he was cut in half by a wisp of saber chi, and his blood poured down. Boom! On the other side, a woman wrapped in a divine glow was sneaking carefully. But in just a moment, the divine glow around her was smashed, and she was killed in the battlefield. Hurry up! Go and meet the son of the saint. The eyes of the Dragon Whale clan widened. They were frightened and helpless. Like stray dogs, they were chased by Lin Sun alone. Lin Sun followed them unhurriedly, but he replaced the broken blade with the insignificant bow and held it in his hand. Buzz! The bow, which seemed to be composed of white bones, had a kind of rough and ferocious aura. With Lin Sun's strength, the blood-red bowstring was pulled to the fullest, making a buzzing sound like it was about to drink blood. Whoosh! A wisp of an ethereal spirit arrow flashed out soundlessly, and it penetrated the head of a dragon whale expert 3 kilometers away, causing an expanse of horrifying yet beautiful scarlet-red blood to spray into the air. Lin Sun didn't even look at it. He hooked his fingers and pulled the bowstring to the fullest again. Like the god of slaughter from hell, he was going to hunt all the way. Chapter 570. Bang! 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 The invisible arrow shot out like a stream of light shuttling through the void, but it had no color or fluctuation. It was silent and scary. In the distance, some strong practitioners of the Dragon Whale clan were shot to death. Some of them didn't know what was going on before they were pierced through. The spiritual arrow was too mysterious, silent and hard to be found by the naked eye. It was like an invisible assassin appearing out of thin air and taking away people's lives when they were caught off guard. At this moment, holding the bow, Lin Sun's vision suddenly became very clear, as if he could see through the secrets of the world. At the same time, his consciousness also fell into a state of absolute calmness, as if he had no feelings. This was the insignificant bow. Lin Sun got it from an assassin nicknamed Residual Wind when he was in Mist City. The bow was originally sealed in a gray eye, and Lin Sun found it by accident later and took control of it. Its power was extremely obscure and terrible. It could affect the mind and occupy the practitioner's will. If it weren't for the suppression of meditating magic, even Lin Sun couldn't resist this power. If one perceived it carefully, he would fall into a dream, as if he came to a barren gray plain with a bow suspended under the sky, releasing a cold aura that deterred all things. Lin Sun still clearly remembered that he had witnessed a strange phenomenon at that time. The sky there collapsed, and a mountain-like ancient dragon turtle appeared out of thin air. As soon as it appeared, it roared and smashed the mountains and rivers with monstrous power. But when the big bow suspended in the sky appeared, An invisible spiritual arrow shot the ancient dragon turtle to death in an instant, and the world was dyed red with blood. The silent, weird and domineering scene didn't cause an earth-shattering roar, but it had a soul-stirring deterrent force. It was also at that time that Lin Sun knew that the bow was called insignificant, which was also obscure and mysterious. Now, Lin Sun hunted down those strong practitioners of the Dragon Whale clan with this bow. He could kill them with one shot without fail. Every time he attacked, he would definitely kill one of them. It was soundless, silent, and terrifying. However, this bow consumed too much power. Otherwise, Lin Sun wouldn't have kept it hidden and wouldn't use it easily. But now it was different. Lin Sun had just swallowed a fruit of the Lantern King ginseng. The power in his body was surging and flowing, and he was always in the peak state. This made Lin Sun exclaim in satisfaction. Of course, this was just a thought. At this moment, he was in absolute calmness, and had no emotional fluctuations at all. In next to no time, under Lin Sun's domineering pursuit, only 4 or 5 experts of the Dragon Whale clan remained, and all of them were filled with despair and helplessness while their hearts were enveloped by the great terror of death. How could they have imagined that a human youth who had almost been killed by them would launch a powerful counterattack in the blink of an eye? Thump! In the distance, another expert of the Dragon Whale race was shot to death. A bloody hole appeared on his throat, and his entire body was blasted flying. His pupils dilated as he perished. However, when Lin Sun was about to chase and kill all the remaining enemies, he suddenly narrowed his eyes and woke up from the absolute calmness. He sensed extreme danger, and the aura of danger was bone-piercing like a sharp blade. It caused him to be unable to maintain his calm, and the hairs on his entire body stood on end while his scalp went numb. This was too abnormal. Without the slightest hesitation, Lin Sun practically instinctively turned around and fled. His speed was extremely swift, and he'd even utilized his utmost strength. Even then, the dangerous aura that came from behind him still lingered incessantly, and it was as if a pair of icy cold eyes were staring at him from an invisible place. Flee! Lin Sun gritted his teeth, and his ice drake steps flickered as he dashed like a bolt of lightning. That guy actually left? In the distance, the remaining experts of the Dragon Whale race were stunned as they noticed that Lin Sun, this young devil who killed without batting an eyelid, had actually left at this moment for no reason or rhyme. Besides feeling relaxed from surviving a calamity, they couldn't help but feel bewildered. That guy actually left just like that? It seemed too unreal. Suddenly, they felt the scene before their eyes darken, and a shadow covered the entire sky. When they raised their heads to look, all of them were stunned, and their pupils dilated. It was a snake. However, this snake seemed to be too terrifying. Its head was like a mountain, its blood-red pupils were like lakes, and its wriggling body was like a lofty mountain range. What kind of snake is this? The experts of the Dragon Whale race were stiff all over, their hearts beating violently, and their souls almost leaving their bodies. Just the aura of this fierce beast made them feel weak all over and almost collapse. A gust of stinking wind suddenly swept over like a raging storm, sweeping away all the experts of the Dragon Whale race. It turned out that this storm was only caused by the snake's slight breathing, and it had already produced such a terrifying disaster. Those experts of the Dragon Whale race were all swallowed by the giant snake, and there was no possibility for them to survive. In a place far away, Lin Sun inadvertently looked back and saw the giant snake winding between heaven and earth. Its whole body was covered with green scales, and it was filled with cold divine light. Its head was like a mountain, and its blood-red pupils were like lake. It raised its head high between heaven and earth, and it was impossible to see how big its body was. Lin Sun couldn't help but gasp in shock. He realized that the dangerous aura just now was brought to him by this giant snake. He was even sure that if he had hesitated just now, he would have no chance to escape this time. shriek while Lin Sun was still in shock. A clear cry resounded through the entire world, shaking the desert and setting off a storm. The sand and dust were flying wildly, and the void was in disorder. That was Lin Sun was shocked. He saw a ferocious bird with a pair of bright golden wings like clouds hanging in the sky. It was huge and boundless, flowing with mysterious Taoist rhyme, blazing and dazzling as if it was cast in gold. It was a golden-winged roc. It was one of the legendary ferocious birds in ancient times. It soared into the sky, fed on dragons and snakes, and once killed a real god. As soon as it appeared, it swooped down, spread its golden wings, and grabbed at the giant snake with a pair of sharp claws glowing with terrible brilliance. Two ferocious beasts like ancient overlords actually started to fight in this world. Lin Sun was dumbfounded, and a burst of fear and horror came over him. He turned around and fled, not daring to stay at all. This scene also made Lin Sun thoroughly understand the horror and danger of the secret realm of demons. If he was not careful, he could die at any time. This was the so-called opportunity, and disaster coexisted. It was not as easy as one thought to seize the opportunity. No matter who it was, they had to bear the risk of dying. In fact, the secret realm of demons was indeed a dangerous place. No matter what kind of existence could occupy this place, it was very strange and powerful. For example, in terms of strength, the golden-winged roc and the giant snake were absolutely comparable to the life and death realm, or even more terrifying. If one encountered such terrifying ferocious beasts, even the big shots of various clans would not dare to face them head-on, and could only avoid them. And this time, all those who entered the secret realm of demons were Tao Insight realm powerhouses. It was conceivable that if they were unlucky enough to encounter such a danger, they would definitely die. Outside the ultimate ruins. What? That young human broke into the palace and is destroying the mysterious scripture that Glittering is about to get? The ancestor of the Blood Lion clan flew into a rage and couldn't help cursing. The divine souls of some Blood Lion clan powerhouses were brought back, but they didn't expect to hear such bad news. Other big shots nearby also couldn't sit still. In a palace there was an ancient Taoist altar, a mysterious jade, and a golden scripture. This was a great fortune. One couldn't blame the ancestor of the Blood Lion clan for being angry. Even they couldn't calm down after hearing all this. Hee, I have to congratulate your Dragon Whale clan this time. If nothing unexpected happens, this fortune will be seized by your clan in the end. Suddenly, a big shot sneered. Immediately, everyone's expression turned strange. They all knew that regardless of whether it was the young human who obtained the fortune or the saintess who obtained it, it would all be taken away by the group of Dragon Whale clan experts guarding outside the Five Elements Sacred Island. Thinking of this, the ancestor of the Blood Lion clan's face turned gloomy. He wanted nothing more than to rush in and kill that young human. If not for this guy, how could so many accidents have happened? On the side of the Dragon Whale clan, Granny Heaven Fiend listened with a smile, not saying much. She clearly knew that this fortune was destined to belong to her Dragon Whale clan. However, to everyone's surprise, not long after, the soul altar on the side of the Dragon Whale clan suddenly fluctuated, and the figures of several Dragon Whale clan experts appeared. Ancestor, this is bad. The Five Elements Sacred Island has been destroyed. Even the fortune has disappeared. One of the Dragon Whale clan experts said angrily. Everyone was in an uproar. Another accident had happened. What happened? Granny Heaven Fiend stopped smiling and asked with a frown. It's that young human. He and Lin Lang joined forces and fought their way out of our heavy encirclement. The Dragon Whale clan expert was infuriated. Such a great fortune had slipped out of his hands just like that. It made his heart bleed. Young human. Killing intent flashed in Granny Heaven Fiend's eyes and her face darkened. The big shots nearby looked even weirder. Why was it that young man again? Although the Blood Lion clan seemed to have suffered heavy losses and only their saintess, Lin Lang, was left, it was highly possible that they had already obtained the great fortune. It was worth it. On the contrary, the Dragon Whale clan experts, who had been waiting for the opportunity, had come up empty-handed. They did not get what they wanted. They were really unlucky. Buzz, the sacrificial soul altar vibrated. Not long after, the souls of the Dragon Whale clan experts were sent back. They gritted their teeth and screamed in grief and anger. Only then did everyone know that the Dragon Whale clan experts had been killed by that young human. They had chased after him all the way but could not do anything to him. The atmosphere and the surroundings became even more subtle. All the great figures were unable to imagine exactly what sort of youth he was. He was actually like a scourge, and no one could do anything to him. Conversely, he'd repeatedly spoiled their plans. It was simply strange. Granny Heavenfiend's face was as dark as water. She was no longer as proud as before. She looked as ugly as the Blood Lion Patriarch. Do you think that young human took part of the fortune from the 5 Elements Sacred Island? Suddenly, a big shot asked in a low voice. It was just one sentence, but it made the faces of Granny Heavenfiend and the Blood Lion Patriarch turn even uglier. They even wanted to kill someone. The great fortune that they had originally thought was in their pocket had been greatly changed because of a human youth. Moreover, many of their descendants had been killed. How could they not hate him? When the news spread, all the big shots around the ultimate ruins were shocked. They were in an uproar. Everyone became even more curious in their hearts. Just who was that human youth? Not only was his combat power heaven-defying, but his courage was also terrifying. He had almost killed all the descendants of the Dragon Whale clan and the Blood Lion clan who had entered the secret realm. Chapter 571. Thousands of miles away, Lin soon stopped and became vigilant. Along the way, he encountered several dangers and even almost met a 5-colored poisonous scorpion lurking in the depths of the desert. The poisonous scorpion was several meters long, its body was like bronze, and its tail hook was overflowing with colorful brilliance. Its breath was extremely terrifying. Fortunately, it seemed to be sleeping, so Lin soon avoided that area safely. Lin soon stopped and looked into the distance. It was already the edge of the desert. Further ahead, there were mountains, rising and falling one after another, going straight into the sky, vast and boundless. Suddenly, Lin soon narrowed his eyes and saw many figures coming from afar. "Little brother, did you come back from the depths of the desert? Have you ever seen what happened there?" A middle-aged man came forward and asked. Before the middle-aged man approached, Lin soon did not hesitate to pull up the insignificant's bow and shoot an arrow. With a puff, the middle-aged man's chest was pierced, and blood poured out like a waterfall. His eyes widened, as if he was a little surprised and angry, but he finally lay down in a pool of blood. "Bastard! We kindly asked for directions. How dare you kill us?" Those practitioners who appeared with the middle-aged man were all shocked and angry. They rushed forward with murderous intent. "If you want to rob and kill me, just say it. Why hide it?" Lin soon smiled, but his movements were not slow. The insignificant's bow trembled slightly, and in an instant, a silent rain of arrows poured in all directions. "How dare you? Let's do it together." How could those practitioners sit still and wait for death? They did not hesitate to take action. However, they obviously underestimated the terrible power of the insignificant's bow. In just a moment, Lin soon killed 4 or 5 people. This finally made them feel something was wrong. They panicked and shouted at Lin soon to threaten him. "Little bastard, who are you? How dare you fight against our Flying Spirit clan? Damn it! Do you know what you are doing? When the holy son of our clan comes, you will definitely die." Whoosh! Lin soon looked calm as if he didn't hear it. But he didn't want to be entangled. He seized a gap, performed ice dragon steps, and instantly rushed to the deep mountains in the distance. The Flying Spirit race cultivators were furious, but they didn't dare to chase after them. Lin soon couldn't help but sneer in his heart. He had sensed that something was wrong just now. When the middle-aged man asked, the other practitioners of the Flying Spirit clan approached him quietly. Obviously, they wanted to besiege him, which was definitely not a good thing. Most importantly, Lin soon sensed that there were other strong people hiding in the vicinity of this area, all of whom were secretly watching this place. This made Lin soon more vigilant. Naturally, he wouldn't show any mercy. Although the Demon Saint mystic realm was dangerous, the experts of the various races who entered the Demon Saint mystic realm were in even more danger. For the sake of seizing fortuitous encounters and fortunes, they would absolutely do anything. I need to hurry up and improve my cultivation. A trace of worry rose in Lin Sun's heart. Some previous experiences made him deeply aware of the danger of the situation and a sense of urgency. Seeing Lin Sun leave, all of the experts watching from the shadows felt their hearts tremble. They didn't chase after him. They realized just how terrifying Lin Sun was, and they knew that this human youth was definitely a young genius. He dared to kill a group of Flying Spirit race experts on his own. Soon, Lin Sun's figure disappeared in the deep mountains. Why does this area attract so many strong people? Lin Sun was puzzled. Along the way, he was keenly aware that there were many strong auras rushing towards the desert. An hour later, Lin Sun hid in the dark and learned everything from the conversation of several strong people with low cultivation. It turned out that everything was related to the destruction of the sacred island of 5 elements. That movement was so earth-shattering that there was a terrible vision in the sky, which immediately attracted attention from all directions. They thought that there might be some great fortune there. After Lin Sun learned this, his expression suddenly became strange. There was indeed a fortune there, but it had already disappeared with the sinking of the sacred island of 5 elements. Even if he went there, he was doomed to get nothing. Oh, that desert is extremely dangerous. There are golden-winged roc, unparalleled snake, and the terrifying and unpredictable 5-colored poisonous scorpion. I hope you can come back alive. Lin Sun shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Have you heard that the masters of the Herculean Ox tribe, the Holy Land of Spiritual Treasure, and some other tyrannical races are eyeing the same place of fortune? When Lin Sun was about to leave, he was suddenly attracted by a practitioner's words. I've heard that the place of fortune seems to be the Taoist altar of the legendary demonic saint. There is a supreme inheritance hidden there, but it hasn't been revealed yet. Not everyone can get involved in such a place. As far as I know, many masters have given up and don't want to get involved. The Taoist altar of the demonic saint? Lin Sun was surprised. He thought of a secret map given to Zhao Jingxian by Elder Gao Yang. Was the secret map related to the Taoist altar of the demonic saint? If so, it would be too amazing and would definitely drive any strong person crazy. If it was in other places, even the big shots would take action. Those strong people were still talking and guessing, but there was no valuable news. Lin Sun no longer hesitated and left quietly. Go to cultivate and improve my combat effectiveness first. Lin Sun moved towards the depths of the mountain and began to look for a safe place suitable for closed-door cultivation. Along the way, he was pleasantly surprised to find that this mountain range actually nurtured many rare spirit herbs, and there were also some extremely special spirit items. Sunglow powder, 6-footed purple cicada, silver-horned worm. Lin Sun's eyes lit up. These were all rare treasures, which were almost extinct in Xiao Empire, but they could be found here. At the same time, he also found many rare minerals, such as red blood, precious light stone, floating sun-red copper and so on. Tai precious vine. When Lin Sun accidentally found a vine flowing with pure water light, his eyes were fixed on it and he was ecstatic. The vine was as thick as a thumb and only 7 inches long. Its surface was flowing with water ripples. It grew in a crack of a rock, which was inconspicuous, but as long as you knew it, you would know it was a rare treasure. This vine contained Tai true water, which could not only be used as medicine and refined into peerless elixirs, but also extracted a trace of Tao belonging to Tai true water, which had an incredible magical effect on comprehending and controlling the essence of water. Lin Sun was worried about how to perfect and control the power of the essence of water he had comprehended. The Tai precious vine undoubtedly gave Lin Sun great confidence. After picking up the Tai precious vine, Lin Sun continued to move forward. A few days later, he found a quiet mountain, carved out a cave residence, set up a spirit formation to isolate the breath, and began closed-door cultivation. Lin Sun had been ready to do closed-door cultivation to break through the Tao insight realm a long time ago. Unfortunately, he had been disturbed by various things, which delayed him until now. Now, after seeing the horror of the secret realm of monsters and realizing the danger of his situation, Lin Sun finally made up his mind to break through the realm. In the belly of the mountain, Lin Sun's cave residence was isolated from the outside world. He sat cross-legged on the ground, not in a hurry to cultivate. Instead, he took out the wordless pagoda. "Old Toad, are you all right?" Lin Sun's consciousness entered the first floor of the pagoda. He saw Jean Dui sitting there cross-legged, with disheveled hair and mottled with blood. Lin Sun was a little worried that Jean Dui was seriously injured by the Dutian blood thunder bead when competing with Lin Lang for the golden scripture. Although this three-legged golden toad was a little insidious, despicable, arrogant, and boastful, he had helped Lin Sun a lot this time. Lin Sun felt a little sorry to see Jean Dui so seriously injured. I'm all right." Jean Dui opened his eyes. His face was pale, and his golden pupils had become dim. He looked very pitiful with serious injuries. This made Lin Sun even more embarrassed. He said, "Old Toad, I'm sorry this time. I'll let you go when you're better." Jean Dui sighed and said in a weak voice, "If you really want to make it up to me, why don't you give me that Lantern King ginseng? Maybe only it can repair my seriously injured cultivation." As he spoke, he coughed violently. His pale face was flushed, and he looked like he was about to die. This, Lin Sun was stunned. It was reasonable to say that Old Toad had done him such a big favor, even if he gave the Lantern King ginseng to Old Toad. But when Old Toad took the initiative to ask for it, Lin Sun felt something was wrong. Seeing Lin Sun's hesitation, Jean Dui seemed to be a little anxious. He coughed violently and said weakly, "Alas, if the Lantern King ginseng doesn't work, that Kylan grass can barely do it." As he spoke, he coughed up a mouthful of blood. His body trembled and became weaker. Seeing this, Lin Sun became more and more suspicious. "Old Toad, why don't I give you these two precious herbs? As long as they can cure your injury, they're just two spiritual herbs. What's the big deal?" "Really?" Jean Dui's eyes lit up, and he immediately asked. "No, one Lantern King ginseng is enough." "Well, of course, if there's one more Kylan grass, I can definitely recover to my peak state." Speaking of this, he rolled his eyes and coughed. "Of course, I also know that this request is a little too much. Then, it's up to you." Crack! As soon as he finished speaking, a wisp of golden Tao light fell like a whip and lashed him hard. Jean Dui suddenly let out a scream, jumped 3 feet high and roared angrily, "F***CKU! What are you doing? Can't you see that I'm dying?" "Oh, you're dying, but you still have the strength to jump up and scold me?" Lin Sun sneered. Jean Dui's expression froze. Immediately, he fell to the ground with a thud, twitching all over and bleeding from his mouth. He murmured miserably, "It's over. I'm going to die. It must be the last radiance of the setting sun just now." "Last radiance of the setting sun?" As Lin Sun spoke, a wisp of golden Tao light descended again and pressed in front of Jean Dui. "Shall I try again?" Looking at the golden Tao light close at hand, Jean Dui's face changed dramatically. His body stopped twitching and he stopped coughing up blood. Chapter 572. In the end, Lin Sun withdrew the golden Tao light with a sneer. Old Toad stopped pretending. When he got up from the ground, his face was ruddy, his golden eyes were shining, and there was a unique arrogant and evil aura between his eyebrows. There was no sign of weakness at all. Lin soon couldn't help marveling at the tenacious vitality of this toad. It was struck by lightning like that, but after a few days, it was full of vigor again, as if nothing had happened. I've helped you a lot this time, so I should have a share of the spoils. If you dare to eat them all by yourself, be careful that your son will have no anus. At first, Jean D was righteous and asked for benefits openly. This made Lin soon speechless for a while. This toad had such a personality. Not only did it pretend to be dead to ask for benefits, but it also asked for it shamelessly when it couldn't pretend to be dead. Then, Lin soon happily refused this unreasonable request, which made Jean D yell and curse constantly. But Lin soon was unmoved by force or persuasion, which made Jean D helpless. Old Toad, how is the study of the incomplete golden scripture going? Lin soon suddenly changed the topic. As expected, Jean D's attention was diverted. He opened his mouth and spat out a ball of golden light, which evolved into an incomplete golden scripture. Jean D said excitedly, "There is no doubt that this is definitely a scripture written by a saint himself." Lin soon also cheered up and beamed with joy. This incomplete scripture came from the sacred island of 5 elements. It was originally complete, but it was torn into 3 parts in the process of competition. The other 2 parts were obtained by the mysterious creature in the jade stone and the saintess Linlang respectively. Lin soon had also studied this scripture, but found that it was very suitable. It was like jade and iron, and he didn't know what material it was made of. It was golden and heavy, filled with a unique sacred aura. What was regretful was that this damaged scripture couldn't be opened, to the extent where even the scripture characters on the pages disappeared, unable to be seen. In desperation, Lin Sun could only let Jean D identify it. This guy was a 3-legged golden toad, known to be able to identify all things and know all kinds of rare treasures. It's a pity that this scripture is incomplete and can't reflect the true scripture written by a saint. It's really a pity. As soon as Jean D said this, Lin Sun felt as if a basin of cold water was poured on him, and his inner excitement and joy disappeared. Can't be reflected? Lin Sun was a little unwilling. Jean D was obviously very unwilling and distressed. He said, "Do you think I don't want to see the mystery of this scripture with my own eyes? This was personally written by a saint, so it is definitely not a small matter. It involves the secrets of the divine Tao. However, the crux of the matter is that this Tao scripture was left behind by a saint. Unless I snatch the other 2 parts and complete it, I will never be able to pry into the secret technique within." Lin soon understood that if he wanted to understand the mystery of the scripture of the saint, he had to get the other 2 parts. What troubled Lin Sun was that both Saintess Linlang and the mysterious creature in the jade stone were not ordinary people. It was easy to imagine how difficult it would be to snatch the scriptures from them. If Lin's guess was right, the mysterious creature in the jade stone must be the little child mentioned by the old ape. The entire 5 elements sacred island was originally a cultivation ground that the old ape's master had specially prepared for this young master. This also meant that this young master must have an extraordinary origin. It was very likely that he was the descendant of a saint. This was too shocking. Fortunately, this young master had not been born yet, so Lin Sun didn't have to worry about any future troubles for the time being. Alas, all my efforts were in vain, Lin Sun sighed. To put it bluntly, even if you obtain the complete Tao scripture now, you won't be able to understand it at all, because this is a Taoist scripture left behind by a saint. It involves the mysteries of the divine Tao. How can a guy like you, who hasn't even reached the Tao insight realm, covet it? Jean D's words were full of mockery. Lin Sun didn't bother to pay attention to him. He carefully hid the incomplete Tao scripture of the saint. He believed that in order to obtain the mysteries of the Tao scripture, both Lin Lang and the young master would definitely take the initiative to look for him. Otherwise, they could only stare at them helplessly, unable to pry into the secrets of the Tao scripture. This was also an opportunity for Lin Sun. Perhaps as long as he seized it, he could complete the Tao scripture of the saint. Of course, this was a matter for the future. No one knew when the young master would be born, and where would Lin Sun be when the young master was born. However, in this secret realm of monsters, he could first consider how to take the other part of the Tao scripture from Lin Lang. After entering the sacred island of 5 elements, Lin Sun had gained a lot by killing the strong practitioners of the Bloody Lion tribe and the Dragon Whale tribe. Not only did he get the treasure lamp King Ginseng and the Kailan grass, 2 treasures identified by Jean D as the king-level precious medicine, but also an incomplete Tao scripture of the saint. In addition, there were more than 30 kinds of rare spiritual herbs, such as wisteria snow ganoderma and moonlight grass, which were rarely seen in the outside world. Most of them were the spoils of war from the strong practitioners of the Bloody Lion tribe and the Dragon Whale tribe, and a small part was collected by Lin Sun himself. In addition, there were some weapons, elixirs, ores and other sundries. But for the current Lin Sun, most of them were of little value. Of course, if he sold them in the Xiao Empire, they could be sold at a sky-high price. However, there were some rare ores and spiritual materials, which could be used as materials to refine armors with spiritual tattoos, which were of high value, so Lin Sun collected them. Lin Sun began to cultivate in seclusion. Sitting cross-legged in the cave residence, he silently recited the ancestral Taoist scripture of illusions in his sea of consciousness, which produced waves like the chanting of Sanskrit, which had an extremely mysterious and beneficial effect on enlightenment and cultivation. At the same time, a drop of water floated between his eyebrows and was perceived by Lin Sun calmly. The water drop was transparent, overflowing with dreamy luster and wisps of sunglow, with a kind of mysterious and boundless power. This was true supreme water, and it was extracted from the supreme treasured vine. Even though it was only a single drop, it could be said to be a priceless treasure. A trace of a Tao mark was branded within it, and it possessed an unbelievable miraculous effect towards comprehending the concept of water. Before breaking through the realm, the only thing Lin Sun needed to solve was to perfectly control the essence of water that he had comprehended. Now, Lin Sun already understood that the reason why he could comprehend the power of the essence of water in the sea spirit realm was not because of his strong perception, which was far superior to those in the ancient and modern times. It was because he had used the Amrita Saint Pearl to refine his body. His body was integrated with the essence of the Amrita Saint Pearl, which made his body naturally close to the Tao of water. Later, with the help of the sky ladder, he miraculously comprehended a trace of the Tao of water. Otherwise, no matter how high his perception was, it was impossible for him to achieve this step in the sea spirit realm. After all, in terms of the level of perception, there were definitely some amazing people in the past years who were more powerful than Lin Sun. But none of them could achieve this step. Only Lin Sun did it, which was enough to prove that the miracle of Lin Sun's enlightenment was not only related to his perception. As time went by, Lin Sun looked solemn and motionless like a clay statue, with a transcendent sense of tranquility. He had fallen into a deep level of meditation. His heart was full of the essence of water, deducing endless wonderful scenes. While Lin Sun was in closed-door meditation, there were conflicts in the secret realm of demons all the time. Blood flowed constantly and disputes arose everywhere. Everything was born for the sake of fighting for opportunities. Almost all the people who entered the secret realm of demons this time were the leaders of the major clans in the Soul Oblivion Sea. In order to fight for opportunities, fighting and bloodshed were inevitable. Although there were many opportunities in the secret realm of demons, the number was limited after all, and some amazing opportunities were even fewer. In this way, there was a situation of, there are too many wolves but not enough meat, which made the conflicts and competitions between clans more and more fierce. Many of the weaker clans were completely wiped out in less than 3 days. They were completely eliminated. Not only did they not get any opportunities, but they also suffered heavy casualties. This was the price to pay for fighting for opportunities, which made people sigh. However, almost all the clans who survived the competition were extremely powerful, such as the Herculean Ox clan, the Golden Phoenix clan, the Cloud Monkey clan, the Black Turtle clan, and so on. What? My Flying Spirit clan was wiped out? Who? Which force did it? Outside the ultimate there was an angry roar. It was the ancestor of the Flying Spirit clan. At this moment, he was so angry that he looked up to the sky and roared. His face was full of unwillingness and anger. Other big shots had different expressions. Some sighed with emotion and sympathized with him, while some gloated and sneered. These days there were too many similar things happening. Not only the Flying Spirit clan, but almost all the experts from other clans who entered the secret realm of demons were killed. Almost all the core disciples who could escape were wearing the Bone Soul Talisman. Otherwise, the consequences would be even more miserable. There were also some cultivators who brought back some shocking news after they were eliminated, almost all of which were related to fighting for opportunities. For example, the experts of the Herculean Ox clan, under the leadership of the chosen, Nyo Tunshin, fought all the way. In the bloody competition, they obtained a jade scepter with remnant divine Tao aura from a valley filled with purple mist. In this battle alone, more than 100 experts from various clans had died at Nyo Tunshin's hands. It was also because of this that Nyo Tunshin became famous, and people's expressions changed when they talked about him. For example, the saintess of the Golden Phoenix race, Manglianqing, had single-handedly fought against the Holy Sun-level characters of 3 different races. In the end, she defeated the 3 Holy Suns in one fell swoop and obtained victory. From an underground cave ruin, she obtained an ancient medicine cauldron of shocking origin. Be it Nyo Tunshin or Manglianqing, they had long become the focus of attention. Their fame was so great that even the big shots outside the ultimate did not dare to ignore their existence. And like them, the Cloud Monkey clan's chosen, Kong Xiao, the Xian Ao clan's chosen, Xian Luozi, the numinous treasure Sacred Land's successor, Su Xingfeng, etc. In the past few days, they had been fighting and killing in the demon saint mystic realm. They had made a name for themselves and were like the sun in the sky. Of course, there were also some low-profile people who were even more feared. At least Elder Gao Yang knew that among the disciples of the numinous treasure Sacred Land, in terms of combat strength, just Xiao Ran alone was not inferior to Su Xingfeng. The only thing that puzzled the important figures outside the sinkhole was that no one had mentioned the human youth, who had shone brilliantly on the first day they entered the demon saint mystic realm. There was not even a hint of news about him. Chapter 573. 7 days later. Lin Sun woke up from meditation. The moment he opened his eyes, a drop of Great One water floating between his eyebrows trembled slightly and turned into a colorful light, merging into Lin Sun's sea of consciousness. Buzz. At the same time, Lin Sun stretched out his right hand and gently pointed his white and slender fingers in the void. A wisp of water light emerged, steaming and overflowing with Tao aura. With Lin Sun's thought, this wisp of water light began to change. Sometimes it turned into a round and plump water drop and fell in the void. Sometimes it turned into a drizzle, rustling and falling. Sometimes it turned into a waterfall, flying and flowing rapidly. Later, it turned into rivers, lakes, clouds and other scenes, all of which were filled with Tao aura, vivid and full of indescribable mystery. Clatter, finally, a drop of water was suddenly stretched and turned into a sword. The water light was steaming, magnificent and dreamy. Lin Sun stared at it quietly with a tranquil and refined look. After a long time, The water sword changed again and gradually outlined the shape of a skylark. But when it was about to take shape, it suddenly burst and turned into mist. Seeing this, Lin Sun couldn't help saying to himself, "Sure enough, it's difficult to condense real spirituality at the stage of Tao aura and can't evolve into real spiritual things." There were thousands of Tao between heaven and earth. Every Tao was branded with the essence of heaven and earth, and its meaning was infinite. Practitioners could find a way to live a long life by comprehending this Tao. Tao Insight Realm allowed practitioners to see through the mysteries of heaven and earth. The word heaven here was a name for the Tao. This also meant that only by reaching Tao Insight Realm could one really spy on and comprehend the mysteries of Tao. This realm was also called the starting point of the real cultivation. But obviously Lin Sun was a special case. He had not yet set foot in Tao Insight Realm, but he had already comprehended and mastered the mysteries of Water Tao. It had to be said that this was absolutely a miracle. At least throughout the past years, it was almost difficult to find such an example. In the past, Lin Sun had learned that the Tao between heaven and earth was endless and different, such as 5 elements, yin and yang, wind and thunder, light and darkness, and so on. But no matter what kind of Tao it was, they all had their own wonders, so there was no difference between them. Only in the hands of cultivators would they display different powers according to the depth of their control over the power of the great Tao. The knowledge of the grand Tao in the world had an extremely perfect and strict standard, and it was divided into the 3 stages of Tao Aura, Tao Insight, and Tao Seed. The aura of the Tao was the initial stage for a cultivator to grasp the energy of a grand Tao. Once one attained this realm, one would already be able to grasp and utilize the rhythm and aura of the grand Tao. Tao Insight, on the other hand, was a stage of attaining a higher level. It was higher than the Tao rhythm, and it allowed cultivators to start comprehending the true meaning contained within the great Tao. The Tao Seed was a state of attaining great heights, a state of extreme sublimation. When one arrived at this realm, cultivators had already started to explore and grasp the true essence of the grand Tao. The almighty figures of the ancient times had unanimously affirmed that the chaos was like a seed that gave birth to the power of creation, and the great Tao was like a seed that gave birth to the profundities of the great Tao. The so-called Tao Seed realm meant that the substitute cultivator had already begun to trace the source of the profound meaning of the Tao. Condensing the Tao Seed was tantamount to mastering a complete grand Tao and planting the seed of the grand Tao that belonged to oneself, which nurtured one's own understanding and perception of the essence of the grand Tao. When the seed took root and sprouted, it could undergo metamorphosis and sublimation again. At present, Lin Sun's control of the Tao of Water was at the initial stage of Tao Aura, and he was already able to display the rhythm and aura of the Tao of Water. If he used it in the battle, it was enough to make the power change dramatically. Boom! Lin Sun got up and casually punched without using spiritual power. But on the surface of his fist, there was a wave of Tao aura belonging to the Tao of Water. Suddenly, the void was like a piece of paper, exploding and shattering. The strong wind from the punch hit the rock wall in the distance, leaving behind an unfathomably deep fist mark. This is the power of Tao aura. It's really wonderful, Lin Sun marveled in his heart. After 7 days of meditation, he was finally able to control the Tao aura of water. Now, a casual punch had obviously undergone a qualitative transformation, which was completely different from the past. If I run the power with all my strength and integrate the Tao aura of water into it, how powerful will it be? Lin Sun didn't try it in the end. This cave was dug in the hinterland of the mountain, and it couldn't withstand this kind of damage at all. Suddenly, Lin Sun had a foreboding in his heart. It was like a sudden impulse. In an instant, he perceived a wisp of heaven's secret. The tribulation of advancing to Tao Insight realm is coming. Lin Sun's black eyes suddenly burst out a touch of light, and his whole body was boiling. In the past, He had been suppressing himself. Now, when he began to master the power of the Tao aura of water, all his cultivation reached the level of perfection. His cultivation, physique, soul, and Tao aura had all been perfected. This was an extremely unprecedented way of perfection, which was completely different from other practitioners in the world. If it was spread out, it would cause a great shock in the world, because it was really too rare. If it were other practitioners, they would consider breaking through to Tao insight realm when their cultivation was perfected. But who could be like Lin Sun, who reached the level of perfection in physique and soul, and even mastered the power of Tao aura in sea spirit realm? This was destined to be a way different from the world. Whoosh! Lin Sun's figure flashed and left the cave. The next moment, he was already standing on the top of the mountain. At this time, it was dusk and the sky was dim. The mountains in the distance were vast and winding like dragons, and from time to time there was a burst of horrible beast roar. The mountain wind blew, and Lin Sun's figure was straight. His black hair was flowing with luster, fluttering in the wind, and his moon-white clothes were fluttering. With his hands behind his back, he looked up at the sky, and his deep black eyes were like a surging abyss. Since an unknown period of time, this expanse of the sky had suddenly darkened while surging black clouds that were like pieces of lead surged over and converged here before ceaselessly accumulating, causing all to be silent and oppressive to the point of being unable to breathe. There was a burst of beast roar in the distance, which seemed to be extremely uneasy and restless. In the nearby forest, the creatures lurking seemed to be aware of something and rushed out like a tide to hide in the distance. More and more black clouds gathered, like thick ink, making the atmosphere more and more oppressive. The silence was terrible, as if a great tribulation was coming. The strange and terrible celestial phenomenon made Lin Sun's eyes narrow, and an indescribable palpitation appeared in his heart. This was his heaven's retribution. However, Lin Sun was keenly aware that this tribulation seemed to be more terrible than expected. Before it really came, it was already so oppressive that it made people's hair stand on end. It could be imagined how terrible it would be when this tribulation really broke out. Lin Sun had seen Gu Yunting's retribution on the sky ladder. At that time, the thunder of retribution was rolling and stirring up the wind and clouds. It could be said to be very powerful, but compared with the scene in front of him, it seemed to be ordinary. It is said that the power of thunder retribution is related to the practitioner's own cultivation. The stronger the practitioner is, the more terrible the tribulation he will face and the greater the danger he will bear. It seems to be true, Lin Sun murmured in his heart, but he was not afraid. He had been waiting for a long time for the arrival of thunder retribution today. In a place far away from the mountains, two figures moved like lightning, shuttling through the mountains at an extremely fast speed. Remember our agreement. I can give you the remnant of Saint's scripture, but you must let me have a look at it. In addition, I will also have a share of his peerless medicine. Saintess Linlang looked cold, and her blood-red hair fluttered. Of course. A handsome and oppressive young man smiled as he spoke from the side. He walked with a majestic gait, and his bearing was extraordinary. Shockingly, it was the holy son of the Dragon Whale clan, Yu Shaoxing. Are you sure he's hiding in this mountain range? Saintess Linlang frowned. He killed so many clansmen of my Dragon Whale clan. If I can't remember the aura left on his body, then I would seem to be too useless. Yu Shaoxing's tone was casual, but his eyes flickered with terrifying killing intent. Saintess Linlang didn't say anything further. In reality, her heart bled when she thought of her clansmen that had died at Lin Sun's hands, and her hatred was difficult to calm. The reason she'd temporarily exercised forbearance and agreed to work together with her enemy, Yu Shaoxing, was mostly because she wanted to find Lin Sun and kill him. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. This saying was absolutely true. Be it Yu Shaoxing or Linlang, they both saw Lin Sun as a thorn in their sides. When Yu Shaoxing suggested working together, Lin Lang agreed without hesitation. Of course, the condition was that Yu Shaoxing would return the sapling of the golden treasure tree, and Saintess Lin Lang would agree to give the incomplete scripture in Lin Sun's possession to him. As for the other treasures on Lin Sun, they would split them evenly. This was the agreement between the two. As for whether or not they would fulfill it after killing Lin Sun, no one knew. After all, they weren't friends, but enemies. They were both wary of each other. Is that human youth really nearby? Suddenly, the sound of a conversation came from afar, alerting Yu Shaoxing and Lin Lang. The two looked at each other and went into hiding without a sound. There's no doubt about it. This is the information sent by the elites of the Wind Falcon clan. They said that the human youth snuck into this mountain range and hid after leaving Sacred Island of 5 Elements. There was a group of cultivators in the distance, and there were dozens of them. They were obviously not from the same clan, but they were gathered together and discussing in low voices. This human youth is truly powerful. He's practically killed all the elites of the Blood Lion clan and Dragon Whale clan. How bold of him! The Blood Lion clan and the Dragon Whale clan have lost a lot of face this time. Not only did they fail to seize any fortuitous opportunities, they were even beaten to a pulp by a human youth. What a joke! The conversation between the elites was filled with schadenfreude. Yu Shaoxing and Lin Lang, who were hiding in the dark, had their faces darkened immediately. They gritted their teeth in anger, but at the same time, they were also shocked and bewildered. How did the incident that happened in Sacred Island of 5 Elements get out? How did it attract so many elites to search for that human youth? Something wasn't right. Chapter 574. What do you think? Who on earth is that boy? How could he fight against the superiors of the 2 clans alone? Instead of being killed, he seized the great fortune in the holy island of 5 Elements? Those practitioners were still talking, speculating about Lin Sun's identity. Why do you care about this? What I really doubt is what kind of fortune did that boy get from the holy island of 5 Elements. It's said that it's an ancient scripture left by a sage. Some people also say that the holy island of 5 Elements nurtured peerless medicines, but they were all taken away by that young man. Hearing these discussions, Yu Shaoxing and Lin Lang's faces became gloomier and gloomier. Who leaked the news? The reason why they joined hands was that they hoped to take away all the treasures of Lin Sun without being noticed. But they didn't expect that the news about Lin Sun had already spread everywhere. Wind Falcon Clan. After eavesdropping for a long time, Yu Shaoxing and Lin Lang finally confirmed that the news was leaked by the superiors of the Wind Falcon Clan. Speaking of which, the Wind Falcon Clan might not be the strongest among all the indigenous forces in the Soul Oblivion Sea. But in terms of being well-informed, the Wind Falcon Clan was the best. The Wind Falcon Clan was born to be spies. They mastered unique secret methods to come and go without a trace, so they were the most well-informed. When they learned that it was the Wind Falcon Clan who leaked the news, Yu Shaoxing and Lin Lang were not surprised. The only thing that troubled them was that according to those practitioners, there were many people who wanted to kill Lin Sun. Many superiors of different clans were coming from all directions to seize the fortune of Lin Sun. In this way, there were undoubtedly many variables and troubles, which made Yu Shaoxing and Lin Lang feel tricky at once. We have to act as soon as possible and kill that boy before others. Lin Lang clenched her silver teeth. Let's go. Yu Shaoxing took a deep breath and realized that the situation was serious, so he immediately took action. Along the way, they searched carefully for Lin Sun's trace as fast as lightning. To their surprise, they found more than one group of practitioners just on the road, who were all looking for Lin Sun with the same purpose as them. This made them more and more anxious in their hearts. Others didn't know, but they knew very well how amazing the fortune of Lin Sun was. Not long after, the roars of a group of beasts resounded from the distant mountain forest. The roars were filled with restlessness and uneasiness, and the ground was shaking as if countless living beings were fleeing. Heavens, what is that? Could it be that some heaven-defying monster was about to undergo a tribulation? The aura of that tribulation cloud is too terrifying. In the nearby forest, cries of surprise could be heard from time to time. Obviously, many experts had come to this area and discovered the abnormality. Their gazes were all looking in the same direction. A lone mountain stood towering there. In the sky above the mountain, thick black clouds covered the sky and covered the sun, and they ceaselessly converged and roiled. They were silent, and strange, and they emitted a terrifying oppressive aura that seemed as if it intended to destroy the world, and it caused the hearts of others to tremble. It was too terrifying. That aura made all beasts feel fear. They ran frantically, becoming restless. Even the cultivators who arrived at this place were all dumbstruck. They all sucked in a breath of cold air. Who was going to face the tribulation? Why was the aura so oppressive and terrifying? It's the chaotic whole heavenly tribulation that belongs to the abode realm. But this phenomenon is too terrifying. Even the innate saints of the ancient times seemed to be unable to draw down such a tribulation. At the same time, Yu Shaoxing noticed all of this as well. When he saw the black tribulation cloud that converged in the sky, his heart couldn't help but shake fiercely while his expression changed slightly. Are there any records of this in the ancient books? At the side, Saintess Lin Lang's clear eyes were suffused with a strange expression, and her expression was heavy. No. Yu Shaoxing shook his head. Saintess Lin Lang was visibly moved. The Dragon Whale clan that Yu Shaoxing was from kept many ancient books passed down from the ancient times, and there were many records of the Grand Tao tribulations amongst them. Yet now, even Yu Shaoxing had said frankly that he'd never heard of such a tribulation lightning, and this seemed to be too unusual. Look, there's a figure standing at the peak of that mountain. A cold light suddenly shot out from Yu Shaoxing's eyes as he looked towards the distant mountain. It's that human kid. Could it be that he's going to overcome the tribulation? It's surely him. I fought him once, and I confirmed that he's only at the perfection stage of the spiritual ocean realm. Saintess Lin Lang gritted her teeth while her eyes were filled with hatred. The perfection stage of the spiritual ocean realm? Yu Shaoxing was shocked. Only then did he realize that the problem was a bit serious. He knew clearly how powerful Saintess Lin Lang was. She could kill sea spirit realm practitioners as easily as slaughtering chickens and monkeys. But that kid could fight with Saintess Lin Lang and even take away an incomplete Taoist scripture from her. This was too unusual. You've also realized that he's an evildoer. If he's allowed to grow up, he'll definitely be our great enemy in the future. Saintess Lin Lang took a deep breath and looked solemn. Just like now, can you imagine how terrible his strength will be once he overcomes this tribulation? We must take this opportunity to get rid of this kid. Yu Shaoxing said word by word, and his eyes were full of killing intent. If he wanted to take away Lin Sun's opportunity before, then now he wanted to kill a great enemy on the road of cultivation in the future. Because he knew very well that once a person like Lin Sun rose up, he would definitely shine brightly and suppress all of them. Boom! Suddenly, there was a thunderous sound in the distant sky. It was just like the roar of the thunder god, shaking the world and the earth. It was deafening and terrifying. In this mountain area, thousands of beasts were wailing, crawling on the ground and shivering. This was a kind of supreme power that frightened them. Even the practitioners distributed in this area felt trembling at this moment. They were shrouded by an indescribable oppressive aura, and their whole body was stiff. In the sky, the dark clouds were suddenly torn apart by a dazzling purple bolt of lightning, illuminating the heaven and earth with immeasurable power. Looking from a distance, it was just like a terrifying purple dragon that swept out from the depths of the black clouds to destroy the world. Just this aura alone was enough to shock many cultivators, their faces turning pale. This tribulation, it could be said to be shocking and terrifying. It's that young human. It turns out that he triggered the tribulation. God, He hasn't advanced to Tao Insight Realm yet, but he has killed so many strong practitioners of Tao Insight Realm from Blood Lion Clan and Dragon Whale Clan. He's just abnormal. It's really abnormal. Look at the power of this tribulation. I've never seen it before." In the nearby area, there was a burst of exclamations. No matter which clan they were from, they were shocked at this moment and recognized Lin Sun's identity. There were also many strong practitioners with killing intent lingering in their eyes. Tribulation was not a joke. If there was no one to protect them, they would easily suffer accidents. Even if they could succeed in the end, their body would become extremely weak. If they took advantage of this opportunity to kill him, they could definitely kill him. There is a great opportunity hidden in this boy. It's enough to take advantage of this opportunity to kill him easily. Many practitioners who came from all directions witnessed this scene, and they all had the same idea, that was to take advantage of the situation. On the top of the mountain, when the purple thunderbolt appeared, Lin Sun, with his hands on his back, finally moved. Whoosh! He didn't retreat or avoid it. His figure was as illusory as an ice dragon, and his whole body was full of clear brilliance. He rose into the air and rushed into the rolling tribulation clouds. Is this boy going to take the tribulation head-on? Isn't he courting death? Many practitioners exclaimed. The tribulation was so terrifying and rare that it made people tremble with fear from a long distance. But Lin Sun took the initiative to face it, which surprised them all. Boom! The first heavenly thunder fell. The purple light flowed and the electric arcs intertwined, illuminating the mountains and rivers. Lin Sun's body was bathed in it. His whole body was sparkling and translucent. He resisted the tribulation without suffering any injury, which made many people stunned. How strong must his physique be to not be afraid of being struck by tribulation lightning? It could be vaguely seen that the blood and chi around Lin Sun rushed out of his body like a dragon one after another, surging like stormy waves. That was the pure physical power, a release of the potential of his body. If it was exerted, this kind of physical body could sweep away the strong in the same realm. Boom! Not long after, the second tribulation came. It turned into a thunderstorm, like a rain of light, but it was the purest thunderbolt. The thunderstorm poured down and drowned Lin Sun. There was a vast expanse of purple between heaven and earth, like a sea of thunder, which was extremely horrible. What is this tribulation? Why is it so horrible? Someone swallowed his saliva with difficulty, and his scalp was numb. Is he dead? Many people widened their eyes. Suddenly there was a thump, thump, thump. It was the sound of heartbeat, but at this moment it was like a divine drum vibrating, which made people's ears buzz. Then, everyone saw Lin Sun's figure emerge from the sea of thunderstorm. The rolling thunder washed his body, making his whole body crystal clear and bright, and even his pores were shining. It could be clearly seen that his body was transforming rapidly. His skin was more and more flawless, as clear as glass, and there was a strong fluctuation of upgrading. His body is transforming. Is he walking on the road of becoming a saint with his body? A group of strong practitioners was shocked to find that, after the second tribulation, Lin Sun's body seemed to be baptized and sublimated, and began to be reborn and transformed extremely. We must kill him. We can't let him succeed in crossing the tribulation alive. Witnessing all this, Yu Shaosheng and Saintess Linlong's killing intent became stronger and stronger. The tribulation was so horrible that it had never been seen before, but Lin Sun was not hurt at all. Instead, he used the tribulation to promote the transformation of his body. He was simply a monster. Once this kind of person grew up, who could suppress him in the same generation? Boom! The thunderstorm in the sky seemed to be drawn by the tribulation, constantly refining and washing Lin Sun's body, making him flow like a divine rainbow, illuminating the mountains and rivers. In the end, the second tribulation fell silent. At this moment, Lin Sun didn't hesitate at all. He stepped on the void and went up step by step, rushing to the dark tribulation cloud again. His whole body was shining like clear glass. His black hair was shining, fluttering in the wind. His expression was firm and calm and tranquil. Boom! Before Lin Sun approached, the third tribulation came in the depths of the tribulation cloud. The sky fell and the earth cracked. A purple and golden thunderbolt burst out, vast and deafening,